Johnson. I got a great big Johnson. I got a long Chef Johnson. Got a big old Johnson. She was squeezing on my, choking on my, pulling on and trimming on my. She says, do we need some lubrication? No, baby, it's a 4-stroke. Don't forget to put the plug in.
Alrighty, guys, jigs and bigs for another Tuesday evening, Tuesday morning, Tuesday, whenever you're listening to this show. We got good stuff for you guys this week in Jigs and Bigs. Well, your boys had one hell of a week. We're going to talk about that for sure. I put some things into practice. It's been a good thing, and I can't wait to share what I've learned with you guys. It's going to be really great. We're also going to hear from both Joe and Sean. Sean specifically has had some pretty significant kayak modifications, and this is coming after helping out your boy here with some technical issues that he needed to kind of work out. We'll cover all that stuff. And just the tip this week, I got a little something for you content creators there. A little bit of food for thought that you need to kind of take with you. And bait of the week, we're going to kind of give our own 2 cents to a presentation that just works lots of times in multi-species situations. Why? Well, because we're on the edge of the May multi-species scavenger hunt tournament coming up, and you don't want to miss it. We got an FTG for you and an FTG addendum as well. Tourney talk, all kinds of good stuff. We have Caleb Bell, the guide who took me on my first trip out to Chickamauga. We finally got to talk to him as well. We've got great stuff to talk about. You're not going to want to miss it, guys. Much more good stuff coming, Jigs and Bigs, right after this. I feel like my headphones need to be a little bit louder, so I'm going to go ahead and make that adjustment. I'm going to make the executive decision to bump up my headphones a little bit. I hope you guys are having yourselves a great week. We have the jig heads are all over the place here. We've got conversation from, Binya Outdoors. We've got Fishing to the Sticks. We've got A-Bay Lures. We've also got Biggest Nickus in the house. A couple other ones that have been in there too. We got Jay Manning with us. We've got, the list goes on and on and on. We have multiple folks in here. I'm sure we're going to see a few more pop in as well. Welcome, everybody. Man, what a crazy, crazy week. Amazing week. How are you boys doing?
Doing awesome.
Bobby, you know how I'm feeling.
I know how you're feeling. It's accurate right there. It's actually
exactly.
It's kind of how I'm feeling too, to be perfectly honest. Just want to chime in here. Last week we were talking, and in the comments, Fishing the Sticks was sharing some information about having a situation with his kayak, having an abundance of water. And he mentions in here, he says, sounds like Feel Free is going to be sending him a new boat, which is awesome, man. Good for you. That's the wrong button, but that's the right button. That's the right button right there. Cool. That's awesome. That's good news to hear. Let's hope it all works out. Boys, how was your week? Getting out on the water. Any adventures?
I didn't go out.
That makes it easy. That makes it easy. How about you, Joe? Why don't you walk us through your week?
Yeah, so it's funny. Sean and I were talking earlier on the phone. I was like, yeah, man, I didn't get out at all. But I forgot about one time.
Yep.
All right. And it was you guys both know how these trips go.
Mm-hmm.
I went out once, took the boat out, brought my oldest stepson as well as one of the twins. So 14 and 9, right? I'm trying to get them more into fishing than they really are now, but I'm also at the same time trying not to force it.
Yeah.
But, so we got onto some fish. They got onto some fish. I got onto, essentially just undoing knots and tangles the entire time. So that was basically, I caught a couple decent, I caught a decent smallie and a pretty big crappie.
Nice.
Just at, Lake Lashaway right down the street from me. But, yeah, it was one of those times where you love it because they're super excited that they're getting on on fish, but I made that really bad mistake of like, oh, you want us to grab our rods? I was like, no, I got plenty. I got all my rods on the boat. I wish I just let them use their rods because I had to restring a couple of my spinning rods after that trip. But,
they take a little bit of abuse, and then you're like,
yeah, they took a little bit of a beating, but we had fun. They caught fish, and so that's all that matters.
That's awesome, though. I mean, that's the whole thing. That's what you want is you want to share that experience. It's so funny in the interview I talked with Caleb. I mentioned I was like, one of my favorite things is to go and fish with people who have never been before.
Right.
Nothing makes me happier than seeing somebody catch a fish for their first time and just like, holy shit. And it all just kind of clicks. And he shares a great story, which got me thinking about my next trip to Tennessee and involving bringing queen beef with me.
Oh.
And I'm like, this could be amazing, Yep. Yeah, it could be pretty awesome. Plus, like, she could do all the Tennessee shit that she wants to.
Sure.
Dollywood and, all that stuff. So,
yeah. It outside of that, I didn't get fishing anymore, but I did start planning some trips. So, and like I told you, but we have that Wednesday night league where it's just basically a bunch of friends get together and it's just bragging rights. We throw a few bucks there to into the pot, and we just have a good time every week. So that starts this week, Wednesday on Webster Lake.
Nice.
And then with a buddy of mine, Dan Griffin, who fishes ABA with me, we're actually already planning for the final down at Lake Murray. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's not till friggin' next March.
Still,
but, just trying to like look at houses and make sure that we have that all locked down and we're not friggin' sleeping in our trucks. So
that's important for something like that. Yeah. That's important.
Yeah, and we're gonna try to bring the families with us too. So my wife's friends with his wife, so they can go do their stuff with the kids, and
that makes it nice and comfortable for everybody. That's cool, and also gives them, while you're out on the water, it gives them something to do. Yeah,
exactly.
That's good. That's awesome, man. That sounds really, really great.
Yeah. So we'll see how it plays out.
Now, how about you, Sean?
I did a lot of how should we say this, maintenance work, as you can attest to this week.
Yes, I can attest, and will.
Yeah, you had called me up.
Yep.
What day was that? Tuesday?
No, so this was Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It was Wednesday. Yeah.
Wednesday, you'd called me up and said you were having an issue where one of the T-bolts had broken on your Boondocks landing gear.
Yep.
And I said, well, let's take a look at it, see what I have for hardware. Come on over. And did you come over on Wednesday or Thursday? I forgot.
It was Thursday. Yeah, it was the next day. It was Thursday, yeah.
Yeah. We talked on Wednesday. You came over on Thursday.
Yep.
We took it apart. I completely replaced most of the, if not all the hardware, right?
Well, I mean, no, there's still some original shit in there.
The nuts, right? Yeah. I know I replaced all the nuts with lock nuts where I hadn't before, but I think at this point, I would say probably 75% of the hardware on that thing is probably mine,
swapped out. Yeah, probably. That's not a far estimation. Because now there's actually even more hardware in there holding things in place, which was leading to some of the issues that I was having. That's the issue with some of the size of these boats. Like, they go, I'll walk through exactly what had happened as far as the boat. Wednesday, I was unloading my kayak I was looking to get redemption at a lake in one area. And I went, as I was rigging up the boat, I had the landing gear down and was rigging up, my rods and getting everything in place. And I heard something just go ping. And then I almost it went by my head. And then I heard it hit the ground. And I looked down and it was basically the T-bolt had snapped. It still had the nut still right on top of it. And I think what had happened was earlier, I think the week before, I had noticed that one of those was loose, which happens. I mean, you have, a boat with these nuts and bolts that are, holding equipment to gear tracks and stuff. Like vibration is going to cause those things to loosen. And it's one of these things I happened to notice and wanted to nip it right in the bud. So I went and tightened it, and I think I just over tightened it. And then, so this thing snapped clean. Like you saw it. It was clean right off, just bam.
Funny story. I'm going to skip ahead.
Go for it.
3 days, but I just did the same thing with one of mine about half an hour ago.
Really?
I think it might be the hardware that is provided with said boondocks, but I can't prove that.
Could be.
I actually put a lock nut on.
Yep.
Tightened it down to make sure things were in place where I wanted to, and then loosened it up, and it snapped.
No
Same,
shit.
almost identical to what you did. Yeah. So I think
that's
maybe,
interesting.
and then I have some T-bolts lying around. I replaced it with that. Getting back to Thursday though, so you would come over.
Yep.
We brought the kayak into the garage, and I went to town. I threaded another bolt through, and I drilled a hole, threaded another bolt through. So at the completion of this project, I believe I said, and I'm going to stand by it, I think we could lift your kayak up, even the Titan being as heavy as it is.
Yeah.
I think we could lift that up by the boondocks at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's
so solid. Yeah, it is totally right. And I brought it out on Friday, and I was like, well, this is it. Taking off the trailer, I'm like, this is the test. Because it's not a smooth surface. I'm like, let's see how this goes. And yeah, like a champ, it was awesome. And having that center beam stay perfectly in place, actually attached to the two collars that it's basically providing some support to, means everything. I think that's going to keep it from being a problem in the future.
Exactly.
I think.
And the real kicker on that was me, those longer stainless steel bolts through the main beam housing carriage and the main beam.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
I'll be doing to mine as well. So fast forward to today, and I did pick mine up from Three Bells, as I've related several times on this podcast. The suspense cart was not doing it for my NAR for me. I know a couple other people that have it and have been using it in a different way than I have, but they're also using trailers. So if you have a NAR and you're planning on putting it in the bed of a truck, might not be a great idea to get that suspense cart. It's not staying on where the strap, I don't know, what'd you call those things? There's a little strap. What the hell are they, Bobby? On the front of the kayak where I was running the straps through.
Yeah.
What'd you call those things? Strap holders, whatever the hell they are.
Yeah, I mean, loops.
If you're using that suspense cart, loops, whatever. They're not holding on to it. So I was actually starting to rough up the bottom of the boat with the cart, which is no good because it was slipping off.
Yep.
With the weight on it, which was not good. I went back down to Three Bells today. Lauren had done a ton of homework for me, reaching out to some of the Jackson reps. Hey, is the boondocks going to be, it doesn't have enough capacity? Yeah, it does. Is it compatible, and does it have enough capacity?
Yeah. And
it turns out a couple of the folks involved at Jackson are using them.
Yep, that's
they're going to go nameless, and they're just kind of testing it out to make sure it's okay. And I said that's enough for me because I'll be hooking it up in a different spot on the boat.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna kind of test it out this way and see how it goes. Now, the thing that I have to really pay attention to is when I'm moving the boat. When I get to shore, I have to take out basically all my tackle. It's just too heavy.
Yeah.
And if I have any water bottles left, that's got to come out too, just to make sure that I'm not overloading the
boondocks. Yeah.
Yep. So that's where I'm at. Now, going back to the other day real quick.
Yep.
There are two things we didn't mention.
Yeah.
Now, you and I shot a couple of videos in my garage.
We did. Those will be coming soon.
Yes. One of them was for Lauren to show her that we were in fact taking good care with the boondocks and showing her what I was doing. I just said I'd send a video. I think we sent it to her actually, didn't we? We did.
Yeah, we did.
We sent her the quick video.
Yep.
Once we were done, we forgot to film it while we were doing, but whatever. She saw the end result and was fine with it, and saw that I strengthened it up and did it as by the book as I could.
Oh yeah.
There really is no book. The other video we sent while we were working on the kayak, the mail showed up at my house. And in the mail was a package that I've been waiting for and dreaming of for many, many months, many moons. I have to send a huge thank you to John at Nor'easter.
Yeah.
Because John knows I'm a metalhead. John played guitar in a metal band called Burnt by the Sun. John had some graphics for Burnt by the Sun, and he made me 3 t-shirts just for me. Just did a special run just for me because at the time I was living in Nebraska and I had no idea who Burnt by the Sun was. I hadn't gone that deep into the metal. I was still learning the metal, learning the extreme metal. And by God, John did a great job. Thank you to John.
He did fantastic.
Applause.
Now, for the listeners, describe these shirts because they are very special and have a little backstory too.
Yeah, well, let's wait.
Okay.
Let's wait because it describes it in the video. So there's our
true.
teaser.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on Jigs and Bigs Instagram. We shot a little video there. Bobby filmed it, and I am describing and thanking John for this wonderful gift, dude. Kick ass. Again, you've heard it before. I'm gonna say it again. If you guys are out fishing and there's some sort of, I'm not gonna say extreme weather. These aren't. They do make actually. Fuck it. They do make coveralls for for ocean fishing.
Yeah, they do.
Look at. If you're going to be out fishing in the weather, take a look at Nor'easter. Their shit's awesome.
Yep.
I wear it. Bobby wears it. The Three Bells folks wear it. Everybody wears it. It's fucking great. Joe, did you buy some Nor'easter at the show?
No.
Joe doesn't wear it.
Sorry.
We can fix that. It's okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
It's
you
like
got to get a hold of that, Joe. If you're fishing anywhere in a light rain, like most sweatshirts are going to get wet after like 20, 30 minutes. These, the shit bounces off of. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's nice.
And that's, it's crazy. So, check out Nor'easter, folks. That's NOREAST''R. There's another Nor'easter out there that is not John and Mary Lou. We don't want to give Nor'easter spelled correctly our business.
The wrong Nor'easter our business.
Because they're not in the metal. That's pretty much my week, man. Three Bells trip, doing the repair work for your boondocks, and honestly, getting a lot of pictures from people that were fishing.
Yes,
with the fish that they were catching. You're going to tell your tale, but today I got a magnificent picture, and I did look it up. It was a state pin.
Oh, really?
Nelson called me up in a frenzy when I was driving home from Three Bells. And then I called Bobby and had a laugh about it because, like we've said a million times on the show, if you're going to handle a bowfin, you got to be careful underneath. Like I would grab a pike underneath its throat because then the teeth won't get me.
Yep.
If you grab a bowfin like that, there's a little flap of scale that flips up, and it's a trapdoor of death because now you've got a live giant wriggling bowfin in your lap, and they have teeth. And no matter how many times I've said it, Nelson still did it today and dropped a near 28-inch bowfin in his lap.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Nelson. First bowfin ever. It's a state pin. Beautiful fish.
What a
I'm
fish.
sure if you're, follow fin.horn on Instagram and you're going to see pictures of that bad Larry this week. I guarantee it.
Yep.
So good job for him.
That's freaking awesome.
Other than that, you sent me some pictures too, Bobby. You want to tell everybody?
I did.
Sent me?
Yeah. I sent a lot of fish pictures to a lot of people this week. I took a little bit of my own advice from, well, not really my advice, but kind of like I regurgitated it from Tactical Bassin, actually. So you want to talk about the importance of a database, man? Like this is, if there's one lesson here, take time to look back at your records and figure out if there's any kind of changes, because for the longest time, my records were indicating that one of my most productive presentations across a multitude of different bodies of water was a swim jig, specifically the 6th Sense Divine swim jig. But there was one detail that I wasn't really paying attention to, and 2021, this was a crazy year. Now, I went into 2022 throwing this as well, but I made a change and I started throwing more craw-style trailers. And I'm not saying that craw-style trailers don't work or, something, but something in between the way that I throw these, where I throw these, the type of retrieve that I use, a paddle tail is generally more effective. That's what my data reflects. So after, we talked about this in the bait of the week, we made swim jigs the bait of the week last week, and I said, I just watched this video with Matt Allen from Tactical Bassin about using specifically larger sized paddle tails, larger sized swim baits as trailers for swim jigs. And I was able to put down, and I did the numbers, it was just shy of 7.5 hours on 3 different bodies of water. I caught 8 fish. 3 of those fish were over 17 inches. One of them was over 19. And this is one of the most amazing this is the first week I have ever had numbers like that, in a single week. Some of that can be attributed to the fact that we have the type of spring that we have now with the type of, pre-spawn, and like they're not being rushed with the heat rolling in early. I found a really good pattern. I had gone to the first body of water I had gone to. I had specifically gone, and I even noticed after I was done, I had like a sort of a look back, like a retrospective, and I said, I haven't really fished this body of water like that, with the exception of the knock 'em out or the not catch 'em all brawl, the knockout tournament, where I was specifically just going like from like high percentage spot to high percentage spot to high percentage spot. Except here, I was just knocking all these things out of the way, and then I would get on one big fish, and then I caught another one 30 or 40 yards down. So it was. And then I took that pattern to another body of water where I was just looking to get redemption. And there was a different sort of, instead of throwing to submerged timber or laydowns, I was I was basically sitting on a big flat with weeds that were coming up from under me. And in 8 weeks time, 6 weeks time, that's going to be unfishable in a lot of ways, So I was taking advantage of where the weeds were there, but there's a nice ledge that kind of drops off down to 10 foot. And I was basically just running that swim jig along there, and I hooked into a good sized fish there too. That was a real short trip. I went to go visit my folks. My dad actually had a bit of a health procedure earlier this week, so I wanted to go check in on him. So I went over there, and then the third body of water was a place I had never fished, and I was just going basically show up and looking for the target spots, and I managed to hook into, what was it, another 17 and a half. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. Plus a couple of nibblers. Because actually, Sean, when I was on the phone with you and I was on my way back toward the ramp, I hooked into that was the 8th.
Dude, great day.
It was unbelievable. All on one bait, and it was like redeeming in a sense, because I picked out that swim jig and the color pattern specifically based on the type of water at the first pond. And then the second pond, I went and got on the water, prepared to cut it off and change colors if I needed to. And I said, no, you know what? I think this will lean right in that same direction. It'll be fine. Effective, did the trick. Got to that third body of water, and it was the same thing. That water was actually a little bit lighter, but still stained. And the color that I was throwing was basically a contrasting color, where half of the skirt was black and blue, half of the skirt was green pumpkin, and the plastic that I was throwing on the back was a green pumpkin blue flake. And it was just one of those things where the confidence was there. I knew like it was going to get seen, and I knew it was going to displace enough water. But just putting it in those in the right places and kind of like figuring it out, I was like, you just got to be kidding me. And I mean, and it felt really good because most of the people I spoke to while I was out there, because I love talking to other anglers while I'm out on the water, especially from the kayak, especially if they're on the bank. I'll just go by and say hello, check in, see what they're doing. And so many other people were just struggling that whole time. It was nuts. And it was good to be able to walk away from like some real numbers this week. So that was very, very good. Like I said, the second stop on that Wednesday is where that hardware kind of surprised the hell out of me. And there was a moment where I was just like, well, do I put this right back on the trailer now? And I said, nope, fuck it. We're going fishing. And I pushed the yak on the limping boondocks into the water, took the wheels off, slid it all the way back into the water. And then I said, I'll figure this out when I'm done. I'm going to give myself a couple hours, go out and fish, see if we can catch them. And then I'm going to come back. And when I got back, I just backed the trailer up. Luckily, this is one of those ramps where it's not a super crazy incline. So putting the bow of the boat on and then grabbing the back end and sort of like pushing it up was the trick. It was able to do it. But like I couldn't do that at like Red Bridge. That would be insane.
Oh, yeah. That's a straight 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
Ramp.
I mean, it's not so much launching a boat as much as it's like dropping it and hoping it hits the water. It's insane. But it was such a good week. Absolutely unbelievable. Then Friday, I had I had full intentions of going out on Saturday as well. But I was talking to my buddy Paul, and I was like, listen, man, I go, you've got a limited amount of time. I was like, it looks like this rain might be shit. I go, what's your barometer like? And I told him, I said, just give me a call. If you want to go, we'll go. But he only had until about noon. So didn't go out at all Saturday or Sunday. But I'm planning on going out tomorrow once I get the show edited and done. And I'll probably just go real local to the house just to go and get that in, because Saturday, the 6th, is going to be a huge day on the water, multiple sends. So that's going to that one day would probably fill out the hours that I would want to get that three trips a week in. So, and I may squeeze another trip in on Wednesday too, depending.
Perfect.
So, yeah, pretty good. I mean, it was awesome. And then the rest of my week was really getting prepped for Moosehead, which I don't know if I mentioned this last week's show, but Moosehead recently, only within the last 2 weeks maybe now, has been declared ice out. So water temps there are in the mid 30s, and it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a real challenge. But I was talking with Caleb during the interview, and in there he was like, you might just hit it right on time. He says, because lots of times what'll happen is when you get that ice out for the first time, that shallow water is the warmest water, and that's where you're going to see fish gravitate up there. So you might be catching them in 2 feet. He's like, send it. That's all you can really do. So it'll be interesting. Delirious and I have been talking menu. I know he's talking about blowing me away with his recipe for chimichangas, which I'm into. It is Cinco de Mayo when we're going up there, so we're definitely going to be leaning toward a lot of Mexican fare. I'm bringing up a bottle of Espolon, and I'm going to make some sort of tequila beverage while I'm up there. I'm actually considering using this as a mixer. This Liquid Death Mango Chainsaw.
That'll make you shit.
Oh, it's delicious. And I do love this shit.
I love this shit.
Apparently, the way we're setting up camp is our trucks are going to be side by side with the easy up tent in the middle. And we're going to have each a porta-john on the opposite side of the truck. So we're going to have private bathrooms is the plan. That's the plan, private bathrooms. It'll be nice. It's going to be a fun time. But yeah, I mean, it was just absolutely nuts. And now, here we are. This is today as we record this on Sunday. We are just mere hours away from the kickoff of the Jigs and Bigs May tournament, multispecies scavenger hunt. And I'm excited. We're at 25 anglers right now, which awesome. I think is amazing. Is that a record, Perfect. Sean, do you think?
I can look, but I thought the first time we did this, didn't we get 45 or 50?
Maybe that first time out. I know that we got a bunch of people who were into it the first time that were not into tournament angling. Mm-hmm. And I know that there was a lot of bounce back where when fish were getting DQ'd and stuff like that. So
yeah,
that's just the way it is, I mean,
buddy, that happens every tournament, every fucking weekend. I've talked about it a little bit with you. I'm not airing any laundry here, but
no,
I wish that was an oddity and not a regularity.
Yeah, that's fair.
If it makes anyone feel better, Sean the fisherman has DQ'd my fish. I know he's DQ'd. I think he's DQ'd a couple of bobbies.
He's DQ'd plenty of mine. I have taken more. What is it? What's the penalty? Is it a quarter-inch loss or a 1-inch loss?
It's an inch loss it's an inch loss for
an open mouth.
Now, I know it's not tourney time, but Nelson and I were talking about that, or Nate and I were talking about that. And the reason we have a stricter penalty than KBF, MAKB, et cetera, because theirs is only a half-inch for a quarter-inch open. This isn't as high stakes.
Yeah.
And we want you guys to learn how to do this properly.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
What's going to make you learn? A nasty penalty.
Yeah.
Got a 17-inch bass that's leading the pack. It's now 16 because that thing's looking like this.
Yep.
The difference between everybody else submitting a fucked up fish versus Bobby and I is we get the follow-up text calling us fucking idiots after.
That's exactly it. You guys don't have to deal with that.
set the example. It's our tournament. Now I know, Joe, you got ownership of it for this one. The past couple of years, you were just a contestant. Now you got ownership.
I know.
You guys, we know better now.
Yeah.
We know better. Get those fucking mouths closed. Keep your hands off of places they shouldn't be.
Oh, and I will say this too, with the way that the point structure is laid out, right? Unless you're dealing with a fish that is the lunker, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like if you've got a bass and it's got an open mouth and there are 12 other positions above you, like don't whine about losing an inch. It doesn't matter points wise. So keep that in mind.
Bobby, you can say that. You know what they're going to do.
Oh, I know what they're going to do.
Hit the DQ. There's going to be whining. There's going to be text messages, possibly even there's going to be that.
Yep.
There's going to be possible minor threats.
You know what else is going to be?
No idea.
That's exactly what there's going to be.
That's the noise I'm making every time I hit deny.
That too.
I'm just as we're talking about it, I'm just sitting here because I know my catch board isn't in my boat right now.
Oh.
Sitting in my garage. So this whole time we're having this conversation, I'm like, fuck, don't forget the catch board tomorrow. Don't forget the catch board tomorrow. Don't forget the catch board.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
a couple of tips for everybody, myself included. This is more to remind myself, but you guys can learn from my example. Number one, when that month starts, when you're in there, make sure you have two things on you. Your catch board and a marker. The reason why I say a marker is because there's 30 days, at least 28 days in a month, you know, on at least one occasion, you're going to forget your identifier, drop it somewhere, something's going to happen. You have the ability to get the correct identifier on your Fishing Chaos app, right? But it does you no good if it's not written down. Carry a marker and put it on your hand, if nothing else. Put your hand in the picture, boom. You're good to go.
And what is it? I think it's in the rules. If not, I will make sure it is. The identifier on a screen does not count.
Yeah.
It's got to be written physically on the board.
It's got to be in the photograph, not printed, overlaid on. It's got to be in the photograph.
True story.
That is true.
We're excited. It is 25 people, Bobby, as of right now.
It is 25. I looked just before we started here on StreamYard. So yeah.
So that is 2 for 1 through 10, 11 through 20. That's 3 paying spots, correct?
I believe that is 3 paying spots. That's great.
The more people we get, the more people we pay out. So it's 2 for 10, 3 for 10 to 20. Oh no, that's 4 paying spots.
So let's actually go through the roster. I love shouting out names and giving people shout outs of who's on there. So we got first up on the roster going alphabetically. I don't know. Is this alphabetically? I guess it kind of is. Yeah. First letter. Bobby Mazzaferro. Right. This is Joe, the bearded angler. This is his son.
Excellent.
I love it. They're making it a family affair. So Bobby's in on it. Watch out. It's going to be nuts. Chad Foisey's in. We've got Chris Mellowship, A-Bay Lures. We've got Dave Shade here. Dwayne Wilson. James Hippolito. We've got Jay Lindsay. We've got Jerry Savely. Joe Brown. We've got Joe, the bearded angler. We've got John Hagens. Kevin Dowie. Mike Hansen, Binya Outdoors. Nelson's in here with us. We've got Pat Martin. Myself. We've got Ryan. Is it Stager or Stager? Stager, okay. Sam Tomaszek's back in it. He's had a great April in Chronic Trips, and he's looking to do some damage now in May. He's looking to get some May flowers of his own. We'll see how it goes. We've got Sean. We've got Cheryl Bentley with us. Thomas Monahan, Timmy Bender, Todd Sefton, Vidal Inguez, and Zach Ekberg. I think Zach is the newest, the 25th, the one that just joined. Freaking unbelievable. I'm really, really, really stoked. So
one thing that all the contestants should know, fill up, like the best tip I can give you is if you catch a fish, just throw every fish in there. Be one. No waiting for a big one. Just get it in there and get the point.
Yep.
And then if you can call it out, fantastic. It's better to have those options, have the points secured, then call it out. And another little thing I want to make mention of is I think out of that list, myself and Nelson are the only two, but I think there's, we still have a couple days. Well, we got 7 days left for registration. I'm sure like Jerry Howes will probably get in. He's a mainstay. There's a number of us that are going up to Cayuga, which is a multi-species bonanza.
Yeah.
Get ready to see some shit and don't let it shake you. Go out and play your game and get those points on the board. But you're going to see, I think there's going to be some fucking fireworks coming out of the people going to Cayuga.
Ultimately, what I think anybody needs to look at this entire month-long event, because really it's an event. It's not even a tournament. This is an event, an online event, is that this is us getting to fish together. And if we were out fishing together, we would be keeping track of who's catching what and how everybody's doing. And at the end of the day, it's all good. So we're going to have some fun with it. And, may the best anglers win a little bit of money. But ultimately, we're just going to have a good time. And I'm psyched to be fishing with every single one of you. I have a feeling, Chrissy isn't on that list so far. I'm sure we're going to get Chrissy on there.
Yep, she just said she's going to be popping in on that. She just got her new kayak today, according to the notes here.
Shit.
The messages. Good for her. And we'll be seeing, I believe she's at Cayuga as well. So that'll be another name to that list. Game on. Game fucking on.
I'm getting a message from Elise Noel. I sent her a link to check in, to check out the show, but she is unable to get the video. I said, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. That button's getting a workout today. It really is.
Shit.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a fun tournament, whole lot of fun. And, I don't want to say a couple of like strategies necessarily, but I got a couple of things in mind that I want to get done this month and get out that involve a totally different style of fishing. So we'll see what can happen, and stick around and listen to Bait of the Week this week, because we're each going to throw out there a bait that a presentation that works great for multi-species all over the place.
From each of us, right?
Yeah, from each of us. So you're going to get 3 baits that you can throw out and say, hey, this is it. Get the job done. It gets the job done. You know what I mean? Fucking A. We got anything else we got to talk about in this segment?
No,
Are we
nice
good?
Quick segment one tonight, because you fished, we didn't. Let's roll.
Yeah, I love it. So let's go ahead. We'll wrap this sucker up, guys. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back here, I have just a tip for you that's kind of more focused on those folks that are currently creating fishing content, or those folks that are looking to get into creating fishing content and the ins and outs of it and what happens. So we're going to take a short break. We'll come back with just the tip. Trust me, you guys don't want to miss it. Don't go too far. More Jigs and Bigs coming up after this. Hey guys, Bobby Roast Beef here from Jigs and Bigs. If there's one thing I can't stand spending money on, it's on something that's not versatile, something that I can't get a lot of use out of. I want to talk to you about Frost Buddy. What Frost Buddy is it's one of those can coolers. I've seen these before. In fact, I have some that are limited to only fitting one specific size of can, like a standard 12-ounce can. I stumbled onto Frost Buddy and I was blown away with it. So versatile. Fits standard cans, tall cans, slim cans, and even 12-ounce bottles. And the magic is the insert fits all of these items in various stages within the insert. And when you take that out, you can fit a full 16-ounce tall boy can. In fact, it even doubles down on being versatile with the coffee lid. And on my recent trip to Chickamauga, I had a field day with this thing. I was throwing beer cans in it. I'd have coffee in the morning. On the drive, I was throwing in all different sizes of cans for different canned coffee products to keep me awake on the long drive back. The thing was amazing. So I recommend you check out Frost Buddy. If you're in the market for either a travel cup for your coffee or a can cooler at all, either one of those, check it out. For the money, you cannot go wrong. What I've done is this. In the show notes for this podcast you're listening to right now, if you look there, you'll find a link to Frost Buddy where you can get yours. And not only can you go and get your Frost Buddy there, but you can help out the show as well. Go and visit that link in the show notes to this podcast. Check out a Frost Buddy. Tons of colors, tons of patterns, all kinds of great stuff. And it's a great spot to put your Jigs and Bigs sticker too. Take it from me, Bobby Roast Beef. You're going to get the most versatility out of this one product, probably out of anything you're ever going to buy, especially for anything that you're drinking. Frost Buddy. It works for me. I'm a happy guy. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form content. For all your premium kayak needs, we partner with Three Bells Outfitters, located along Smith Cove in Niantic, Connecticut. Three Bells is your go-to location for kayaks and accessories from Hobie, Native, Bonafide, Jackson, Yak Attack, Naqua, Boondocks, Burley Pro, and many more. Financing options are available to upgrade you and your kayak fishing experience. White glove delivery service is also available. Visit threebellsoutfitters.com for more info, and don't forget to tell them that Jigs and Bigs sent you. When it comes to high-quality polarized sunglasses, we've partnered with Torres. They provide stylish sunglasses in a variety of frames that are light and fit comfortably on your face. The polarization cuts glare and allows you to see the whole picture, helping you identify what's below the water's surface. They have a 60-day risk-free trial, lifetime warranty, and free shipping. Plus, you can save yourself 10% with the code JIGSandBigs10 at checkout. Visit Torrege.com to check out their selection. That's www.torege.com. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
That's exactly what's about to go down right here, guys. I've got a little bit of information for you guys, a little bit of a tip, and this specifically is for content creation. And I talk about this stuff because I think that it's content creation is one of those things where either people jump in completely and into the deep end and they're all gung-ho going for it. They're creating content all the time, posting content all the time, honing their stuff so that it's the right kind of setup. Or you have the other type of angler that's begrudgingly making content because maybe they are a tournament angler and they want to have something that they can present to a potential sponsor, some type of a way to create a relationship, to work together as, projects go forward in the future. And the thing is like all of these things take time, regardless of where you are in the spectrum. I think the main thing is to realize that it just takes time for things to start to happen. And the number one most important thing, and I will die on the cross for this, is that it's just, you just have to keep going. A lot of folks will do, whatever their mode of content is. Let's say it's on TikTok and they will release a few TikToks there and maybe they're not doing so great and they decide or they just kind of lose interest in it because they're not seeing these amazing results right away. The trick is that if you just kind of put the blinders on and focus on creating and do what you're going to do. And above all, be organic, because people can tell when you're not being authentic, organic, when you're just kind of putting it on for the camera, it shows, so be yourself and stay the course. I think that's ultimately the big tip right there, is just stay the course. There is no magic video that you're going to post. There's no magic picture that you're just going to put out there and all of a sudden, Johnson Outboards is going to go and hand you $1 million or something. You know what I mean? That doesn't exist. What will get you to that place is continually doing good work and representing yourself well, and doing the best you can, and again, being organic and consistent. Consistency is absolutely huge. So, putting in the hours and setting things up and then trying to crank out all of this content and then just essentially blowing that load right away and saying here's 25 different, TikToks or something that we've put out or whatever it might be. Realize that you've got time, take it slow, but put stuff out so that you can put your best foot forward. Take the time to learn with what you've got, because not everybody, nobody really needs crazy amounts of equipment to be able to do all this stuff. I like to use, And I think this is somebody who would consider themselves begrudgingly a content creator is Alec Plotnikevich. Alec's a local guy. We've had him on the show before. Alec is a beast on the water. Like, he catches the really fantastic fish. He's got a smaller boat. I think he's got a 16-foot aluminum flat bottom boat. And his primary mode of capturing content is one specific camera. And that's all he uses. And I believe he actually edits everything that he puts out for content on his phone. And it's like an Insta 360 camera. It records 360 degrees all the way around. So if there's something crazy that is, happens around nearby him, he can actually zoom into it after the fact, even if it was behind him and the camera wasn't directly looking at him, because it's got a dome and it's always looking around. But it's great perspective. He'll put together a video of just like some amazing catches, and whatever your style of content might be, it might be TikToks, it might be Instagram Reels, it might be YouTube, and you're going hard. You're doing like 30-minute long, in-depth, posts that are going out on YouTube, like that are episodic, and people really dive into this. Or maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's a video podcast, maybe it's just gear talk. Whatever it is that you're doing, realize that there's a long game at play, and it's when you get hung up on the first couple of weeks or months of putting your content in, and you're like, I'm not seeing these results. It's all about the long game. In fact, you could do yourself a huge favor, and this is a little bonus tip. Don't look at your analytics for a while. Don't pay attention to them, because they ultimately should not be affecting anything that you're doing. If you get stuck in that cycle, when people are fishing, Sean, like in tournaments, they say they get all spun out, like, and hung up on one thing. Well, if you're getting all spun out in a tournament and it's 10 a.m., you still have till 2 or 3 o'clock to go. So you got to just move on, float on and do what you got to do. Keep that stuff to get, to focus on your growth, and it will happen, I mean, there's nothing worse than trying to create content, going all like, pedal to the metal, all the way, pedal on the floor, like trying to rush it, and then you get discouraged with it, and then it just drops off and goes nowhere. And it happens all the time. I say this from experience because it happens with podcasts all the time. It happens with podcasts I've operated. Like, it's a fact. The one that's different is this one, Jigs and Bigs, because it's one of those things where I had no choice but to just put the blinders on and keep making the show, and I have COVID to thank for that. I really do. If I had to work, I don't know that this show would be what it is. And if this show didn't get to where it was, like within that amount of time when I started working again, I don't know that I would have stuck with it. But luckily, it's one of those blessings in disguise. It worked out for me. And, for the show, because it's still continuously going.
We may never have met if it wasn't for COVID.
I know. Think about that. Sean and I definitely have met pre-COVID, so we knew one another.
And really, with COVID, think of how many. I mean, I'm not going to name any names because a lot of people had time during COVID.
Yeah.
Think of how many podcasts went by the wayside. During COVID.
Yeah.
It started, and then eventually either they didn't see results or they got back to some sense of normalcy, and
they didn't have the time
to do it anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
a lot of things fell.
It happens all the time. But ultimately, the reason why I'm saying for people to kind of like just pace themselves is because, like, if you dive too much into the numbers and you focus on this stuff, the number one thing that's really going to kill somebody's ability to create content is burnout. And you see this with folks that like vlog channels where they're just like every single day of their life, they're vlogging something, and they're trying to tell a story every single day. And you see that, in the first couple of months, you're like, oh, this is really cool. You get a slice of their life every single day. But then 10, 11, 12 months later, you're like, they're a different person. Like they're tired, and
yeah.
And then I've seen this before with YouTube creators that they'll take a break and then they come back and they apologize for it. And it's like, this is insane. Like, you're a human being, you're creating content, but like, you've got to do it in a way that you can be effective. There are some people who push really hard and I've seen that before. There are people
We're
who
laughing
push.
because the jig head. Go ahead, Bobby.
Nelson chimes in. He says, "Joe, what's up with the porn stash?" Just boom, right there.
So, those you don't know and haven't seen me recently, I got a little stash going right now.
Fair enough.
I'll put something up on Instagram tomorrow so everyone can see it. But I was out of work last week and I had to shave, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to leave a mustache. My wife hates it.
They always
Even my daughter asked me what's wrong with my face. She's 4. But I'm going to let it ride for a little longer.
I thought you were going to say, for those of you who haven't seen me in a while, I'm a disgusting creeper.
Yeah. I'm buying a van too.
Oh, we'll talk about.
We're going to talk about vans in a bit.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're talking about vans. Oh, so anyway, that's my point, guys. It's just like, don't burn yourself out. If you're making content, yes, go for it. Be organic. Be yourselves. Be your authentic self. Go forward and do it. But don't burn yourself out, because it's the number one way that people like drop the ball and just walk away from it. Like, I can't do this anymore. I got to live my life. Make it part of your life, but know when to put it in its own place. Pick it down and put it up. Pick things up and put them down.
Yep.
Good stuff. I think it's time.
Put that down. Put that down. Put that down.
I got this one today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be a little general because there is a chance that this is not a nameless, faceless FTG, some jet skier, somebody washing their car at a boat ramp that we'll never know.
Somebody cleaning their ass on a birch tree.
Yeah, this person has a name and a face, and to be quite honest, I don't know this person's fuse, and we're gonna stay pretty ambiguous with this. So
That's a smart idea.
yeah, we're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into, if you're on social media and you claim one thing and make yourself out in a certain way, but then you are seen in person doing the exact opposite. And not only are ethics at stake, but the law is being bent or broken.
You might say not being one's authentic self.
In numerous ways.
Yes.
Yes, Bobby. Yes. I mean, at the bare bones, that makes you what? A liar, possibly a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go as far as kind of a piece of shit.
A general piece of shit, yes.
So we have been given a couple reports about, a social media person that claims one thing and has been really doing some shitty things. And it was to the point, again, not knowing, it is 2023 and fucking everybody's got a gun. So without us not knowing the length of this person's fuse, proper authorities were not called during the act that was being committed in particular that kind of put this over the edge. But this has been on our radar for what, 2-3 years now? Bobby?
Oh yeah. Since the beginning of the show, really. Actually, even since before the podcast started, we knew about this individual separately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some things got bigger. I'm sorry, FTG is really ambiguous this week, but I don't want to push this. But yeah, just the lesson on this is, if you're on social media and you're claiming to do one thing and then you're breaking the law the minute the cameras are off, that does make you a piece of shit, and fuck that guy. That fair?
That's fair. I think that's
now I want to get specific. I had a nomination that is completely unrelated to fishing, but I wanted to share this story with everybody because the circumstances were so fucked up that this is great. This is absolutely great.
Yep.
It started with my parents moving from the house we grew up in. Yes. Yeah, Bobby knows exactly. Joe, I think you know where this is going, right? Did I tell you about this, Joe?
You didn't finish the story. You wanted to see my reaction on the show.
This is great.
Gotcha.
This is great. All right. My parents, decided to downsize, move to an over 55 community. Apparently, upon moving in, they were warned about their next door neighbor being a complete and utter piece of shit. All right. Again, not fishing related. This is a little addendum, little +1 for you folks. Due to the, I don't know, that was kind of a lackluster FTG. I'm sorry. But again, circumstances dictate we had to do that. Back to my parents. They were warned about this one particular neighbor being a complete and utter piece of shit by the other neighbors. And last fall, this neighbor apparently decided that it was okay to blow all of his leaves through the picket fence into my dad's yard. My dad went over and asked him what is going on. And the neighbor said, I thought you wanted them there. Because that's a normal thing. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely ask my neighbors to blow all their yard waste into my yard so I can clean it up for them. I'm that good of a neighbor. When my dad said, well, I don't, get it out of here, the conversation ended with the door being slammed in my father's face after a get the fuck off my porch, quote unquote.
Oh, okay.
My dad generally has a reputation as being a calm person and gets along with pretty much everybody. I cannot remember anyone ever saying anything bad about my dad. He's just a calm guy. He likes to drink a beer every now and again and smile and laugh and tell jokes. That's what he does. My dad, from that point on, has hated his neighbor. Hated with a capital H. Leading to, they have a window in their place that looks out to this guy's property. And again, it's a community, so it's close.
Yeah.
They were so sick of seeing this guy trying to look into their windows that they asked me to plant 2 gigantic 8-foot baby arborvitaes right in front of their window. Again, my dad likes his landscaping and has for years.
Yep.
He's a boomer. They do that. And he wanted to fuck up the entire design of his yard to drop these 2 trees right in front of a window so they didn't have to look at this asshole. And I said, wow, okay.
It's getting serious.
Well, I went over there last week, had all my digging implements, if you will, ready to rock. My youngest son was on vacation. He said, let's do this, Dad. And I started talking to my parents. Now, this little tangent here, we did have quite the heated discussion. I've planted many dozens of arborvitaes in my day, and I understand how to plant them. Yeah, well, whoever fucking sold these plants to my parents just gave them a line of shit, which led to an argument with me, and they're trying to back this guy up. I'm like, have you done this before? Like, I have. Please, like, let me do it and get out of my way, but you're going to have a bigger hole than you think. Just be aware. These aren't fucking rose bushes we're planting. These are fucking basically trees that grow to 3 stories tall,
Oh, yeah.
I got my point across. I went outside to spray paint the area, to mark off the area. Again, not my project, not my house. And the neighbor comes out and starts telling my father, you're not supposed to be digging. And I look up and I don't say anything because I want to see this reaction because I've only been told tales of this reaction.
Yeah.
My father went bright red and said, mind your own business. And I said, can I talk to you? And we walked into the house where my dad unleashed a torrent of swearing. Fuck this guy. Who the fuck does he think he is? Piece of shit. Mind your own business. And I said, okay, point taken. He was rude. He's a dickhead, but he was probably right. Did you clear this with the management at the property? And did you call DigSafe? I got 2 no's. And I said, look, I said, okay, you guys haven't had to do anything like this in a while. This wasn't my project. I probably would have called DigSafe. And I said, at that point, I yelled at my son, hey, pack the shit up. We're not digging today. Because I am not going to hit a fucking sprinkler line, gas line, anything like that. I am not doing that.
Yep.
I've learned a lot of lessons when, you just get it checked out. It's easy. It's free. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
And then you're not blowing up your fucking neighborhood. My parents went ahead and took the proper steps. The next week, I was now alone because I had to drop the kids off at school.
Yep.
They're back off vacation. I had all my digging stuff ready to rock. I knew I was taking some dirt home, so I had a tarp laid out in my truck. And there was a certain time DigSafe was supposed to be ready. And just to be safe, I called up DigSafe and said, everybody check their shit. And DigSafe gentleman said yes. I went through the list with him, confirmed everything. There were 2 of the companies spray painted good to go or check mark or whatever on the grass. One of them was even kind enough to spray paint in the grass that I was about to dig up. They saw the marking and said, you're good. I'm like, great. Thank you. And they had checked with management. So I went outside, and as soon as I sunk that shovel into the ground, the next door neighbor comes out. You're not supposed to be digging here. Now, I have to tell you, when my father gets real angry, he doesn't make a lot of sense sometimes because he's just so enraged and he's not his normal state.
Yeah.
Stressful. Yeah, it happens. Myself, my father, and this gentleman are overweight. As soon as he started talking, my father dropped the shovel, pointed right at him and said, "Get back in your house, fat ass." Which I saw the irony of it and then immediately stood up or turned around, put my hands on my father's chest and said, "You're going to make this worse. I got this. Get out of here." Now, somehow this magical role reversal happened where I was the calm.
You were the parent. Yeah.
And my dad is swearing, getting ready to jump a fence and beat the shit out of one of his neighbors. So I turned back around. I said, "Look, what's your problem?" Very calmly, but with some attitude. And he said, "You're not supposed to be digging." I said, "Says who?" "Management." I said, "Okay, you're wrong. I called management, or my parents called management. They're good. We're good.
Yep.
We're absolutely good on this. What's next?" "The gas company." I said, "See that spray paint on my foot? That's a gas company saying I'm okay. You got any other concerns?" Then he said electrical, and I pointed about 3 feet away. Thank God he mentioned the only 2 companies that mark the lawn in spray paint.
Yeah.
Because I just pointed at both of them and said, "What's your concern?" "Well, you can't do this. You can't take it." I said, "Dude, the people that needed to okay this, okayed it.
Yep.
If you want to call DigSafe," I gave him my name. I said, "Go ahead, call him. Tell him I told you to call.
Yep.
And when you're done, call the cops, call the mayor. I don't care. I've been given permission to dig. Everyone's checked it. This is safe to do." And I said, I even gave him a compliment. I said, "Look, you know what? You said something last week and it made us check this. And I did it. So I'm going to dig. Do you have any other issues? What's your problem?" And he said, "Well, I'm worried." Again, this neighbor's a little neurotic, might be. I don't know if something's wrong. I have no idea. But he said, "I'm worried about my gas stove exploding." And I said, "Well, the gas company okayed everything on this side of the fence. So if you have an issue with your stove, I suggest you call the manufacturer and you can solve that. Other than that, I'm digging over here." And I just turned around and started digging. What I'm leaving out is twice during that conversation, which is slightly paraphrased, twice during that conversation, my father bum rushed the fence to swear at this gentleman. And I had to stop him and turn him around and say, "Get out of here. You're making it worse. I got this shit. Leave me alone." All right? You're not helping. But he's just rushing at him. "Shut the fuck up. You're not telling us what to do." I'm like, "Dad, stop. Get out of here." Like just swearing. So he gets back in. I've now calmed him down. I go back and get it. The third time he ran at me, he went in the garage. So I just left it alone. And he was steaming, fuming. So he got angry at me a lot in high school, and he was far angrier than I've ever seen him. Far. No matter what I did in high school, this was infinitely worse. And I calmed him down. I had to go, we started digging. I got the shit out of there. I actually did most of the digging. My father's, well past 70. He's past 70 now. So I just did the digging and said, "Fuck it, I got this," which was a huge hole for 2 arborvitaes. It was 6 by 3 and almost 3 feet deep. So I had some digging.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going, oh.
You were going,
That's what I was waiting for. I did that for hours. I dug the shit up. In the meanwhile, after this neighbor had retreated to his house and out of anger mowed the lawn at me, I guess. I don't know. Can you mow the lawn, at someone?
Somebody? Like, son of a bitch. Look at these fucking designs.
Yeah. How you like this? Mowing my lawn right here, huh? I don't care. I'm digging. I don't care about you. I put in ear pods and fucking drowned him out. The neighbor behind him, behind my parents' house, they get along with.
Yep.
He's an old machinist of Italian descent, slight accent. And I introduced myself to him, said hello, and he said, "That guy giving you trouble?" I said, "Yeah, actually." And I took care of it. He goes, "Yeah, fuck him." You're great.
It's so me. You fuck on that guy.
As a joke, after I was done with the arborvitaes planting, which did suck by myself, and my dad helped me out a little bit, but no, it's just, I'm getting too old for that shit. My parents were talking to the polite neighbor behind them, and I said, "Okay, hey, I'm all done here. I'm getting out of here. I'll be back next week to plant a row of bushes so you don't have to look at this guy either."
Nice.
the gentleman behind them said, "Hey, that's all right. I poked my head through." I'm like, "All right, fucking whatever. This guy's great." So I left, and although it's not fishing related again, a hearty, in spirit, fuck that guy to my parents' next door neighbor. And now they can't see him because they've got a couple arborvitaes right in the middle of a window.
That's fantastic. I mean, think of all of the potential content though that there could be if those bushes weren't there. Like, it's just like a sitcom right in itself.
They're they're being driven insane. They don't deserve their twilight years to be taken up by this fuck. So I'm sorry for my parents. Now they don't have to look at them.
It's like a twisted neighborly Threes Company. It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's like Home Improvement, but the neighbor that pokes his eyes over the fence is a complete raving psychopath. It's just a little different.
Yeah, just a bit off.
So there you go.
Shit.
That's why I didn't fish this week.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Oh, you gotta love neighbors and their bullshit. I got a couple of good neighbors, but we're not gonna go into that fucking story yet. Let's talk multi-species shit. What do you guys say?
Hit it.
Do it.
Jigs and Bigs. Bait of the week.
It's a beautiful thing. We're talking lures that can catch them all for the most part. And I think, it was like right before the show, this kind of idea hit me. I was like, well, with the fact that the Jigs and Bigs May multi-species scavenger hunt is kicking off, why don't we take a little bit of time and go over some baits, make some suggestions on presentations that folks can throw? I mean, obviously you can use whatever you want for sure, but take these into consideration. Use our knowledge to kind of help yourself along. And I think what we need to do is, obviously we need to mention that I'm pretty sure we're all going to mention artificial presentations, right?
Yep.
I'm going artificial. Yeah. If you want to throw a live bait in our tournaments, you certainly can. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in with my first one. A small jig head, like an 1/8 ounce is ideal. Even a 1/16. Small jig head with like a 2-inch battletail swim bait. Everything's going to eat it. It is fantastic. And I have caught large fish, but of all different species on this one presentation. It just works great for everything. You're going to lose some with an exposed hook. You are. It's just a way that it works. I have thrown some of these on a EWG Ned style head, and it's worked great too. That definitely keeps it from getting, if you're going to throw this into some heavy cover or something, yeah, it might be a good idea to go ahead and do that. But I've caught yellow perch on it. I've caught trout on it. I've caught rainbows and browns. I've caught bass of largemouth and smallmouth on it. I've caught crappies on this. I've caught fall fish on this. I've caught pickerel, and so that's 8 right there. And I'll bet that I probably could catch a bowfin on here too. Probably could. What do you guys think? Did I steal somebody's by throwing that one?
I feel like I did.
That's
what I was gonna say. Yeah. So I was going to basically say the same thing. I'll get to it a little bit in depth because I use a certain jig head.
Yep.
So I use the Megabass Okashira jig heads.
Oh yeah, those are great jig heads.
Yeah. So don't let the name Megabass scare you. You can get a 3-pack for $6.
Yeah.
So it's really not bad. But they have great hooks. They're a thicker wired hook for a jig head. They have a good keeper. I use usually like 3.3 Kitech, so the biggest I go with them. So that's it. Actually, when I brought my kids out this Monday, that's what I put on both their rods.
Oh, really?
I knew fish were gonna hit them.
That's perfect.
So they caught largemouth, smallies. They caught crappies.
Yep.
Maybe a perch or two.
Mm-hmm. What do you use for plastic generally?
Kitech.
Yeah. Yep. That's usually what I use.
I typically use a Kitech. Yeah. Or and we've talked about this before. I do have a few packs of the Bass Pro version.
Oh yeah, I love those. What do they call them? The Speed Shiner or something like that?
I forget what they call them.
Yeah.
But those are great. And like half the fucking price.
Oh yeah. Half the price.
Those are great too. But since you already said that, the other thing I will say that I've caught a lot of different species on is drop shotting.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a great go-to.
Yep. I've caught I've caught bass, both largemouth, smallmouth. I've caught crappie. I've caught trout, like you said, on them. I mean, anything. I've caught big, bluegill off a drop shot. So that's always a good presentation to have for multi-species too.
I love it.
My turn?
Yeah, go for it, Sean.
Well, first I'd like to make a precursor because this is a couple times now I may or may not have heard on this show that state laws may or may not have been followed regarding lead use and jig heads. So follow your state laws, people. All right. We're the leaders. We set examples, right, Joe? I don't hear a yes. I just see it. I see a mouthful of beautiful teeth smiling at me.
Yeah.
And a smarmy mustache.
Not touch the bottom.
I did get covered by a woolly bugger. Number 6. It's good shit. I'm going to go in the same vein. You guys know I use an extra wide gap lead-free Ned head.
Yep.
In quarter for the bigger baits, in an eighth most of the time for Ned rigs.
Yep.
And occasionally if it's a real finicky bite and I want it slow, usually almost always saved for stickworms is where I'll throw a 16th.
Yep.
But your choice of plastic, it can be your favorite creature bait, 3 inches or less. It can be your favorite paddle tail. It can be a stickworm. What else do I use? I think those are the big 3. On a Ned rig, you're going to catch everything with them. You can swim it. You can let it drop. You can bounce it on the bottom. You can do all sorts of shit. I don't know of any lure that I've used that I've had more success multi-species than a simple Ned rig, extra wide gap, so I can throw it in any condition, weeds, stone, you name it. Again, follow your state laws as to what you can and cannot use. But that's what's actually, I think, won me several of these chronic trips or Jigs and Bigs tournaments over the years. Has been the Ned rig is just the greatest cleanup device of all time.
It really is. It really is. Binion chimes in, and this is the other one that I was toying around with in behind my head was inline spinners. Inline spinners, mix up the sizes based on what it is that you're kind of targeting, but especially like those smaller, like 1/8 ounce cocktail spinners. Awesome. Catch them all. I actually caught a really big first smallie I ever caught in my life. Throwing this tiny little inline spinner on like this little Shakespeare, like 5.5 foot ultralight with like a 100 size reel. And I was fishing the Connecticut River and I was like, oh, we'll see what we catch. And I hooked into this just absolute like slaunch of a smallie. I'm like, holy fucking shit. I couldn't believe it didn't break off. I could not believe it. Was like right after I learned how to tie like decent knots. And I was like, oh, all right, this is good. This is something else. Had no idea how to set the drag. I think I had the drag like completely maxed. I'm like, it was just ridiculous.
You forced him in.
It was, that's exactly it. It was like, all right, we're not losing this one. Nelson chimes in. He says, artificial lures always, unless you need a bluegill, then you drop shot night crawlers. Fair enough.
Unless it's November.
Yeah, November.
It doesn't work.
Yeah,
it does not work.
That's a good point. That's pretty cool. And Fish in the Six comments and he says, I caught a walleye of a drop shot last weekend. Drop shots catch fish, they definitely do. And especially like the smaller the bait and the presentation, the more finessey, like if you're using a worm style, if you're using like a Zoom trick worm style, something like that, that'll get bit. It'll get hammered. Fuck around with the presentation. Don't nose hook them all the time. Wacky rig them and see what you come up with. Throw a helamite or, anything like that. Any type of a creature or insect or something, and it'll get hammered, Fuck
around and find out.
You said it. Right. Speaking of fucking around, you know what I just found out?
What?
I'm going to be going to see the Melvins in not this next weekend, but the weekend after.
Sweet. Where?
They're playing in Vegas at the Sick New World Tour. My daughter this last summer really kind of fell in love with heavier music, and she's been just getting into it. My wife had, seen ads for the Sick New World Tour with like the Deftones and like a bunch of bands I really don't care to see, but some that she is like really into, like System of a Down is one of the headliners she's really psyched to see. And she's like, why don't we go? It'll be fun. So we had the miles. So we used the miles to book the flights. We just booked the hotel. We've had the tickets for months. And we're like, all right, we'll just go. It'll be fun. And then I was listening to the playlist last night while I was out for dinner with my wife. We were just kind of tooling around. We were out, found ourselves in the Berkshires. Decided to have some lovely charcuterie and some craft cocktails at Moon Cloud over in Great Barrington. Can't recommend them enough. And we were listening to this playlist on the way, and there were a couple of Melvin songs that popped up. And I was like, is this just like regurgitating songs that like kind of line up with what's on the list, or is this actually on the playlist? She's like, no, this is actually the playlist. I'm like, wait, the Melvins are playing? That's fucking great.
Awesome.
I fuck around. I fuck around, fuck around. I fuck around. You know what I mean? I found out.
Excellent.
I do think that it's time, though.
Yeah, I mean, you just had your anniversary. It's time for more wedding stuff.
It is. Weddings of a different kind.
Yes, Dothraki style. I have 4 things to cover real quick, all right? First off, I want to talk about the opener for the MAKB Northern Division that happened on Saturday.
That was Chewbacca Lake, right?
Yeah, so for those of you guys outside of Massachusetts, it's spelled Chebacco. Your autocorrect on your phone makes it Chewbacca no matter what you do, so I let it fly. So anytime I contacted other directors about this event, anybody, it was Chewbacca Lake. So many GIFs and memes came along with it. Go check out Chewbacca. We had a field of 26 folks. Top 5, Joe DiDeo, 55.5 inches, 5th place. Nice job, Joe. Jason Fredette, 56 3/4, 4th place. John Ferreira broke 62 with 62 1/4. Anthony Campbell, director for the Northern Division, 72 3/4. Nice job, man. And the winner, Steven Petkovich, 85 3/4. Only person to break 80.
Nice.
So this one was much more spaced out than the tournament prior, where really Anthony and Steven ran away with it. And nice job to them. Michael Surratt won the double down with just 42 inches, but hey, sometimes you gamble. Yeah, he fucked around. He found out.
He did.
You know?
Yes.
Big Bass was Jason Fredette with a 20-incher, and Pickerel Lunker, Matthew Conant, 21-incher. We all have a little bit of we have like 3 weeks off because of the EKF schedule.
Yep.
The next MAKB tournaments are the East, Central, and West, and they're all happening on the day before Mother's Day. So we got a little bit of a break. A lot of us are going to Cayuga for that EKF event. I just looked, 74 people registered for it.
It's awesome.
And there's going to be more. We still have another week of people that are going to be late registrations. We might top 100 on this. The payouts are fucking phenomenal, to be quite honest. So if you're in New York, you want to fish some kayak, some high stakes kayak tournament fun, jump in on EKF. It's something else. From there, today was the final day of the Chronic Trips. April, the season opener. I'm jumping over there on Fishing Chaos now. Unfortunately, I can't open 2 windows at the same time because I suck. But we'll get there here. Chronic Trips ended today, and today ended with a bang. I already mentioned what Nelson did with his first bowfin today. So I'm actually going to look right now and see what the scoreboard is. Yeah, this is crazy. All right, we'll start with we'll just do the top 10.
Yep.
All right. Todd Sefton, Tim Jakes, Gravy, and myself all have 7. So there's 10 through 7 places. We all got 7 points. Ken Wood sitting all by his lonesome in 6th place with 9. Nate Shagnon, the handless. Should we start calling him Nathan Scissorhands? Because he's about that.
Oh, man.
It's been a week. We can make jokes.
It really, yeah. Oh, God. Joe, have you seen the pictures of this poor son of a bitch's hands?
Oh, yeah.
It's
oh,
wild.
my God. I feel bad for
up.
the guy. I really do. But yeah, I think Nate Scissorhands is good.
Yep. Nate is sitting by himself with 10 points in 5th place. I should make a mention. Ken has a Fishing Chaos error on his score. He actually has 8 points. Doesn't affect anything.
Yep.
Because He's in between Nate and the 4 with 7, and all those are outside of paying spots anyways. So we had 22 people, so that's going to pay out 4 spots.
Yeah.
So let's get into the paying spots. Here's a name I just never say. Jerry Multi-House, 4th place by himself. Crazy
You
shit.
gotta be kidding me, man. Jerry's in the money.
Crazy. 3rd place, and actually is tied with 2nd place and tied with 1st, so there will be tiebreakers applied if this holds through the night. Kevin Dowie with 13, Nelson with 13 after the day on the water he had today. He needed a perch and a pike. I know he got a perch, and then he got a bowfin, and I don't think anybody else caught a bowfin. And Sam Tomaszek, all of them with 13 points, and the tiebreakers will be applied to that. We will have final results next week, and I'm going to say this so Bobby and Joe can remind an old hippie. We have to do our giveaway drawings. We have excellent sponsors for this tournament, and we will going throughout the season for Jigs and Bigs and Chronic Trips. There are a lot of giveaways happening. So if this holds and Sam, Nelson, Kevin, and Jerry all take money, they are eliminated from the giveaways. The giveaways are for people that have not won or that do not finish in the money.
Yeah.
Probably I'm going to eliminate myself from the giveaways. This is for listeners. I have good relationships with these sponsors, so I think we're going to focus on getting people, getting people that are fishing with us the prizes that really, really who deserves it. They're out there kicking their asses. So that's all I have for Chronic Trips. More on that, the final for next week as the Jigs and Bigs starts up. Next up, online right now on Fishing Chaos. If you are in Connecticut or a surrounding state, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, hell, even New York, we'll forgive you if you're from New York, but it's okay. And you feel like driving out to some Connecticut lakes this year, Three Bells Outfitters Trail Series is up and ready for registration. Due to a couple personal scheduling conflicts, I know I am getting in at least one. I'm actually, I actually okayed it with the wife that Father's Day I will be going out for a tournament because that's my thing, and then I'll go say Happy Father's Day to my dad after the tournament's done. And I believe there's one in August I can hit. So I'll be fishing 2 of them at least.
There you go.
And get involved in that if you're in the area. Three Bells Outfitters Tour or Trail is a brother/sister trail to MAKB. It's local. Jump in on it. Connecticut, you got something good. Have some fun with it. Finally, unless Joe has anything to say. Joe, you got any tournament news?
No, I have nothing new.
How's that mustache growing tournament going? Is that you winning?
I'm middle of the pack.
Oh, okay. That's good. It's good to hear. We have one last thing, and you've heard us mention it a couple times already. The Jigs and Bigs tournament is about to start tomorrow.
It is.
All right. We have 26 people. Chrissy did jump in. We obviously peer pressured her into doing so on the air.
Clearly.
So during the time that you said 25, Bobby, Chrissy said, I got you 26.
I'm going to make this bitch 26.
Let's get to 31, people. Let's get to 31.
Want.
We get to 31. That's another paying spot. We're already on the downward side. It's one thing if we have 21, 22. That's cool. We got 26 now. We got a lot of people, and the payouts are going to be bigger, but let's get to that next payout.
Yep.
Jump in on this. You still have till the 7th. I've given everybody the first week of the month to get in on this. And remember, if you don't finish in the money, there's still the chance you're going to walk away with something really nice.
Yeah, from the giveaways. Yep.
Should I read off the sponsors, Bobby?
Definitely.
Would that be appropriate?
That would certainly be appropriate.
All right. The Jigs and Bigs sponsors. God damn it. I'm a piece of shit. Let me look at this. I just have to add one to it. We actually just had another sponsor jump on. So alphabetically, best I can, because I've got to throw 2 in there. A-Bay Lure Lab is going to be giving something away, right? There are some limits on that. I believe they said no swim baits, but they're talking custom lure. The Jigs and Bigs podcast, we have something for you guys.
Yeah, we do.
Klondike Custom Creations. Matt Thayer said he'd throw something in. Nor'easter Performance Gear.
Yes.
That's a good one, too. I laugh every time I read this. Good old Sarah Pendergast has come through for us. Sarah P's Saxon Sleeves. For Jigs and Bigs, Naqua, Three Bells Outfitters, and Wranglin' Baits. We got a lot of giveaway stuff.
There's a lot of shit. Yeah, and
we
good
can't,
stuff.
Yep. And finally, I can't believe I just said I was going to mention them alphabetically and then fucked it up. Our boys, Fresh Baits, are jumping in on this.
That's right. Fresh Baits is jumping in on it.
We got a lot of fun stuff going out, folks. So again, it's a fishing tournament. There's no guarantee you're going to win anything, but let's
Yeah.
say we get to that magic 31 number, right? So that's 2 payouts for 1 through 10, 3 payouts for 11 through 20,
Yep.
4 payouts for 21 through 30. We get to 31. That's 5 payouts plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 sponsors. 31 people, 5 payouts, 9 giveaways. That means you got a pretty much 50% chance of walking. Even if you catch one fish. We should have put that in the rule. You got to turn in a fish. Oh well. But get on board, folks. We did the work. We did the legwork. We got the sponsors. We're here for you.
Yep.
Jump in. Let's see what we can do. May's here. It's fucking Jigs and Bigs time. Let's kick some ass. Get on the water, catch. It's a goddamn scavenger hunt. That is all I got. I don't want to drop the mic because it's attached to this little harness here. Otherwise, I would.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think that's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said earlier, like even if you're not a competitive angler and you're just here for the fun of it, think about it like this. This is a way for folks all over the country to kind of be on that same fishing trip together all month long. Go and catch what you're going to catch, and, share your catches also on like social media and use them as an opportunity to, playfully even talk a little bit of shit. If that's what you want to do, then go for it. Have some fun with it. That's what we all want to do. And, we have a saying around here at Jigs and Bigs, and that saying is this. Oh, wow, I got to shut off that song. That saying is this.
Everything is content. Everything is content. Everything is content. Everything is content.
And it's true. Everything we do is content, and same goes for you. Have some fun with it. So if you're one of those, from Just the Tip, if you're one of those content creators, that's like you're looking to do something, take advantage of this opportunity to grow your network and your contacts in a tournament like this. So you have, where tomorrow the tournament starts, you have 7 days to get in, and get it done. I'm stoked. I'm really, really excited.
Bobby, we also have another saying at Jigs and Bigs.
We do have another saying at Jigs and Bigs. Go ahead, enlighten the folks.
I'm waiting for you to hit the button.
It won't work for your mic, unfortunately.
Oh, no, not that. I was waiting for the... We didn't gel right there very well.
We didn't. No. There's some internet shit going on. I'm not getting a indication that I've got like low connectivity or low bandwidth, but both of you guys, I'm getting pauses in what you're saying, and it's catching up. You'll hear it in the final show.
Oh.
Yeah, it's I don't know where it's coming from, so I don't know if it's a StreamYard thing or what, but so I was like, the button. And there we are.
That is definitely after this what we say on Jigs and Bigs.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. Yeah, that's all I got. Let's go, people. Catch some fish. Put them on Instagram. Put them on Facebook. Share them with us. Tag Jigs and Bigs. Tag Sean the Fisherman. Tag Bobby Roast Beef. Tag Joe. American Vet Fishing, right?
You know what?
Yep.
Tag us all.
Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about people catching some fish in this next segment. Let's talk about that because we got a bunch of people that have been catching them and tagging us, and I've been trying to comment in those pictures that they've been posting and the reels and everything. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, guys. We'll come back around. We'll talk all kinds of stuff. Next segment's a doozy. Get ready because we got Caleb Bell. Finally got him on the show for an interview. We have a great conversation. I think I maybe asked him like 3 or 4 questions, and it was just conversation all over the place. And he's a great dude. And make sure if you're going to Chattanooga and you want to do some fishing out that area and connect with someone with a shitload of experience, go check them out. You're gonna want to check out Caleb and Bass Quest Charters because they got you covered. We're gonna take a short break. We got much more coming up after this. Don't go too far. Jigs and Bigs is your favorite fishing podcast, right? Why not show the world how much you love the show while directly supporting us? We have men's and ladies' shirts, hoodies, and a variety of hats. We even have a waterproof outdoor Bluetooth speaker so you can listen to your favorite podcast while out on the water if you like. Check out jigsandbigs.com/shop to visit the store and gear yourself up. If you really can't get enough of this show, consider becoming a jighead and joining our Patreon. It's a subscription that gives you exclusive access to recording sessions that allow you to engage with us as we record the show. We also have some exclusive content there just for our jigheads and even have some special promo codes. Space is limited, so join now at jigsandbigs.com. Finally, if you're local to our area in Western Massachusetts, consider checking out the Western Mass Fishing Report, posted weekly at northeastwildwoman.com. We have amazing contributors providing great content and info for local conditions and what's been going on and working recently. Jigs and Bigs, so much more than just two lightly roasted hippies trapped in the 90s arguing on the internet about fishing. Alrighty, guys, Bobby Roast Beef back here with another interview segment. We have a great guest on with us. You guys know I have been trying to get in touch with more and more guides, but this is a special one because this is not only a guide that we've discovered, but it's kind of like 6 degrees of separation here. All the pieces kind of fell together. I got Caleb Bell with us from Bass Quest Charters out in basically the Chickamauga area, really, in Tennessee, the Chattanooga region.
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Oh, what an amazing place. But what's great about this is that your boy Bobby Roast Beef has made use of this man's experience on that water. And this is great because I can give some firsthand experience that, like, yeah, Caleb knows what's up. And we had an absolute blast. What an amazing host for our adventure down there. You guys heard the show that we recorded on at Talk and Tackle when we stayed down there, when we were with Paul, the two jabronis in Tennessee, and then we had Sean and Joe remote when we recorded. It was great, but now we get to hear right from Caleb all his thoughts on the whole thing and get to know him a little bit more, especially for the Jigs and Bigs audience. So Caleb, welcome. How are you?
Doing pretty good, brother. Doing pretty good.
Awesome, man. Sounds like you're busy as hell. I know you had a trip and you just booked another one coming out. So, I mean, hey, that's good news. I'm glad to hear that you're busy. Let's go ahead and get started, though, with I'm a sucker for an origin story, but our listeners for sure probably have, are interested in knowing how you got to this point. Let's kind of walk through you and your relationship with the outdoors, how you discovered it, who it was that kind of brought you into this whole world of fishing. But then how did you get to the point where, like, I mean, not only are you offering charter services, but you're a YouTuber. And I mean, we were in town for something like 72 hours maximum. And your name came up a lot. So, I mean, just we would have conversation and, who you going out with? We mentioned it. And someone would have a story and say, oh, yeah, Caleb, you're going to smash him. It's going to be great. So why don't you go ahead and walk us through it all there. We'll kind of start at the beginning.
So the origin story, I've been fishing since I was in diapers. My dad and my grandfather are both avid outdoorsmen.
Yep.
I grew born and raised here in Chattanooga. Chickamauga has always been my home lake. So I've been stomping around out there since I, could fit in any kind of Walmart rubber boots or anything like that. So
that's awesome.
As far as like what I'm doing right now, so I was just an avid angler for years and years and years. And I've always kind of been like, I'm a self-proclaimed nerd. Like, I love to learn different things. So I put in tens of thousands of hours of research online, watching YouTube videos. There's YouTube videos for a lot of stuff now, but 10 years ago, there really wasn't all that much information out there. So I would just scour the internet. I've been one of the original fans of tactical bassing and Milliken fishing. Like, when those guys first started out, like, I was just absorbing Gene Jensen, Fluke Master.
Oh yeah.
And just absorbing as much knowledge as I can. And then I always say it's really important, what I've learned over the years, it's really important when you're out on the water to fail quickly. So in other words, eliminate things very quickly, learn things very quickly. And so I've spent thousands of hours out there in what I consider to be good time as far as learning. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm just going out there and I'm doing the same thing every day. I'm intentionally learning something new or trying something new on a lot of my trips and stuff that I was taking. So I think I was able to kind of narrow the gap as far as experience, you know, just there's a lot of fundamentals that I got to learn early on. And that kind of led me into having my own YouTube channel. Started to teach other people the things that I learned. Kind of really what it was is a lot of information that was out there, but some of it was obscure. And I was just trying to condense a lot of that information, what I thought was like the highlights.
Yeah.
And the YouTube channel just kind of opened up a bunch of avenues for me. I mean, I've gotten to really, I think the biggest thing from the YouTube is relationships. You know, like I get to go Mikey Balls. I get to call Fluke Master up when I want to. I called Alex Rudd, talked to him. I called Benjamin Nowak. So I've got people all over the country, and I get to kind of travel around and fish a lot of different lakes. It's really expanded my horizons and my knowledge base by doing that. So I just love it. And so eventually, you know, what I wanted to do was move into guiding. That was kind of like one of my goals long term. But last year, I was working in construction. I fell off a roof, and so I had all the, you know, a bunch of injuries and stuff like that. Well, after my recovery, I just decided to jump into it full steam.
That's the way to do it. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that on the boat because, like, for you, like, I mean, it only makes sense. You know, it's like this is where your passion is. This is where your focus is, and like it's almost like. It's like anything in life. Like you just got to take the leap and go for it. And I think you nailed it there when you said something about it's important to fail early because there's a lot of power in those failures. A lot of people beat themselves up over it. I do all the time. And I'm still, there's things that I'm still, for me, it's a little bit of a different story because I came into the outdoors as far as like trying to be a sponge, learning everything way later in life. Like I was in my 30s when I was really like, actively seeking that knowledge. And it wasn't just getting dragged around with like, you know, my dad or my uncles or something like that. I didn't really appreciate it then like I do now. And it's something just happened later in life. And I kind of got it figured out. But you're right. Like, yeah, you have a bad day, but what did you learn from that? You know, what is the experience?
You got to have that takeaway.
Yeah.
And you got to work hard.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's one thing. Like I always joke around, you know, as a serious fisherman.
Yep.
If they're biting good, I stay out there. If they're not biting good, I stay out there. Like, I'm not going to leave. I don't care how tough it is. Like one of the most fun, like long weekends I ever had was a few years ago. It's 2017. We had this big freeze. And like most of the lake froze up, which is usually really good.
Yeah.
And it was good for like a couple days. But then when I finally got to fish, like there was the biggest shad kill I've ever seen. There's literally tens of thousands of seagulls diving on shad. Like the fish were obviously not hungry because they were just eating shad that were dying.
Exactly.
Yep. And so I fished for 3 days and like, I think the highs were probably barely touching 30. Daylight till dark and caught like 4 fish. And I was the happiest guy in the world. Like,
yeah. Well, cause the deck was stacked against you, you know, it's like,
exactly.
That's
I was
like the real win.
What can I do right now to still catch a fish? And to me, like that was fun putting that puzzle together. And, you know, most people would consider that miserable or crazy, but it's always been the way I've been. I've been wired that way for forever where I want to know why, you know?
No, 100%. I think that's really, really important. So let's talk about, you know, the guide services and kind of walk the listeners through how your process works. What can they expect? Because we've talked about it on the show, and I'll probably chime in and stuff as you go through. But kind of give them like that firsthand experience. What's the booking process like? You know, all that stuff.
Well, thanks to my lovely wife, that's pretty easy. You know, I've got a nice website. You can book directly through the website, and it's actually linked to my Google Calendar and everything. So it'll save the date for both of us, send reminder emails and all that.
It is really convenient. It's nice.
Yeah, and that works good. And then I've kind of broken my charter up into several different types of trips. You know, I do a standard 4-hour trip, which is just artificial bait. And then a standard artificial bait and 8-hour trip. And those are $250 and $450 respectively, up to 2 guests.
Yep.
So most guys come and they split it with a buddy or whatnot. And then for the big live bait, because I don't know, we haven't really mentioned that yet, but one of the things that I'm kind of known for around here catching really big fish on gizzard shad. So I'm getting up ultra early in the morning and cast netting these big gizzard shad. When I say big, I'm talking like
these are no
12
joke.
inches, huge. Yeah. And we're sitting there free lining them and running them under a float and catching 10+ pound bass left and right. So that's one of the things that's really popular. And I do the same thing. I do a half day trip and I do a full day trip, 8 hours and 4 hours, and it's $350 and $550.
There you go. Yeah.
Which I'm probably going to have to go up on that at some point.
Oh yeah, it happens.
That adds another 4 hours to my day.
Well, it's funny because that's what I had a conversation with Nick Quinn, who's a guide in Oklahoma. He is on Thunderbird and Eufaula. And he's like, again, like kind of like 6 degrees of separation. Sean and myself are close with Nick's dad, who lives up in our area. And, we were talking about it. And when he was just like, we were talking about rates and stuff. A lot of people, like, I look at those rates, and of course I own my own business too. When somebody tells me their rates, I'm just like, no, good for you. Like, you gotta, the time and experience and everything you're bringing to the table is well worth it. Like, some people hire me to do a wedding, and based on the laundry list of stuff that they want, they could spend $3,000 to $5,000 on a 12-hour day. So if you're dropping $500 to fish for 8 hours, and you're going out with a guy that's got X number of years on this fishery that you don't have the experience on, and you're trying to capitalize on your time out there, it's just money well spent. Because, like, I look at it like this: if Paul and I brought our kayaks down there and we fished all day that Saturday, it is very possible we never would have even found fish. Yeah, because we have zero experience.
And I think that's why we got a lot of really good pro anglers around here. Is our lakes, they fish like anybody that's got experience on the Tennessee River chain. Mm-hmm. It fishes different than almost anything that you ever fished before. Yeah. And so if you're a guy that's coming from the Midwest, you're coming from up north, and you're used to natural lakes or used to highland reservoirs, these lowland reservoirs will throw you for a freaking loop. Yeah. So many guys that are absolute hammers that come down here and struggle for 4 days before they figure it out. Yep. So, and then I've got a lot of guys that are coming in at the beginning. They're staying for a week, they're fishing, but they come at the beginning of it and they book me so that they can learn about the lake. And that's one of the best ways. To me, that's the best thing that you can do in this situation is to use your guide for the knowledge. Going out there and catching fish, we all want to do that. That's cool. But you can really learn a whole lot. That's one thing that I do also with my charter service. Is I do lake map breakdowns. That's awesome. So I'll go through and get with somebody online. I actually did one just a couple days ago, and break down the lake and kind of talk strategy, because that's a huge factor. I mean, I don't even know how many hours I've got in just studying Google Earth, studying maps of the different lakes around me, and studying maps for when we went up to Michigan, we went to a lake that none of us had been to, and I marked about 30 waypoints. I bought the Fish Smart. There you go. Bird, and I marked about 20 spots on there, and lo and behold, those 20 spots are where we caught most of our big fish.
Isn't that crazy?
In advance, I knew right where those fish were going to be. Yep. And that's one thing. It's like you put in enough time on the water, and that's what I'm talking about with good time. It's actually utilizing those electronics. You got it on your boat. A lot of guys don't even turn it on, or if they do have it on, they don't pay attention to it. Yeah. And to me, it's like as soon as I catch a fish, I'm looking at that thing. Yep. What was different? There was an inside turn. There was a hook. There was a difference in the transition coming off of this flat. There was a hard bottom area. You name it. There's always some kind of little detail and some kind of little nugget that you can pull. And if you do that over and over and over and over and over again, what you end up with is you can look at a glance at a fishery and say, well, that's a highland reservoir. Yeah. That's a natural lake. That's a lowland reservoir. And you're like, okay, what's the time of year? Okay, they should be here, 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 here. Then you have 12 or 15 good starting points before you even get on the water. Yeah. You can run that when you finally figure out a pattern. It's like you pulled up to this little inside turn leading into a point. Yep. And you caught one, I've got 10 other spots like that I can run. Yeah. Instead of having to fumble around right then, you're like, okay, I have a pattern, but where am I going to run this? Yep. You know what I mean? So you can really make the most of your time on the water.
And that's the important thing. Like I've fished with folks before that will, and I'll leave their names out of it, but I've fished with folks before where they've got like a little sheet of notes. And they're just like, this is what the weather's doing. This is the direction of the wind this day. This small pond, there's such and such. And there's, cold water coming in from an inlet creek, over on this side over here. And I know that, the dam is over on this area. So I kind of have a general breakdown here. And they'll kind of put things together based on a lot of times the resources that you could just even find online, looking at like topo maps online, that can help you a ton.
And you can overlay those like that. I'd have a video on that, on how to overlay an old topo map. So, I mean, I've got a video of me laying a map from the 50s or 60s, overlaying it onto the Google Earth image of the lake. And you can see the original roadbeds.
That's awesome.
And a lot of them are not even marked. Yeah. But you can do that on a lot of these lakes. Like if you can find the map, the old the engineering maps, even if they're 50 years old, you can actually, as long as you can find kind of the outline of where that lake is, you can line it up, you can make it transparent, and you can actually overlay that thing on there and find all kinds of nuggets.
Yeah. And there's a lot of information there. You figure out like which way where the channel swings and all this other stuff, and it gives you some insight as to what's going on.
Exactly.
There's really ultimately what it gets down to is the only thing that's is going to get you there is the experience, knowing what even to look for and what to pay attention to. It's huge.
The time, but then using your time, wisely.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, you could fish a whole lifetime and really not put together a whole lot of different pieces. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of weekend anglers, like they're going out there to wet a line and to hang out with their buddy.
Exactly.
A fish is a bonus, but for guys like me, I consider myself a hardcore bass head. So
yeah,
I'm into the science of it. I'm into trying to break down, to eliminate all the variables that I can eliminate, the human error. To do the most that I can to catch fish. So in other words, to just grind every little ounce that I can do out of the day. And there's just a few people like that. I feel like in the fishing community, there's a smaller percentage of guys that have that mindset. And sometimes I think it's kind of a negative, but at the same time, I think it's really cool because you can pass that knowledge on to somebody else. And it's awesome to me when I get a text from a guy that I've taken out and he takes me a picture of an 8-pounder. And it's like, hey, I caught it, in this spot using a worm, just like you were talking about. Or I took this information back to my home lake and I bought that bait.
Applied it there.
And boom, I caught this big smallmouth. And I'm like, that's awesome. To me, that's like the coolest thing, most rewarding thing in the world.
I think that's the whole thing. And you kind of hit on something that I'm a big proponent of, is that fishing can be so many different things to so many different people, and it doesn't have to be one thing. It can like for me, fishing started for me really being like a social thing. I would go, and that's how I like to spend time with people. And then things kind of changed around 2020 or actually like 2018. I started taking things a little bit more seriously and starting to learn some stuff. And, what you got to see with Paul and I fishing was truly a comedy of errors, because Paul and I are, when I said that we're like absolute jabronis and everything, like it is just an absolute train wreck every time we go. but he was like my first, Paul and I go back decades, and we played music together in bands. We played shows. Like we go back a long time. Fishing is the new thing. We've been friends forever. He and I, when we go out, it's almost like half the technique just leaks out of my ear that morning. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I've got guys like that I fish with too. And it's a social call.
Yeah.
At that point, you're going out to hang out with your bro.
Yep.
And everybody's got that dude where it's like when y'all get together, break shit.
Yep.
Like it's just not going to work right. But you're going to have the best time that you've had all month long. Doing that.
What's amazing too is for Paul, when Paul got on your boat, that was the first time in his life he's ever been on a bass boat.
Yeah, I remember that.
First time in his life. He's never, ever had that experience at all.
It's completely different than a kayak, too. Yep. I mean, that can throw you completely off your game because you actually have something that you're standing up on, a stable platform. So like the casting is completely different. I know I feel like a fish out of water when I get in a kayak and start fishing. I'm like, what the hell? You know, it's like you got to set the hook harder. You got to use a stiffer rod than you would normally use so you can actually get the hook into the fish. Because if you hook a big one, it's like the whole kayak goes shooting towards it.
Oh, they'll pull you around. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the fish starts going under the kayak the other way. And, you know, you're digging with it. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. I had one hell of a week this week, man. I was like, so it's funny you mentioned tactical bassing earlier because I watched I watched a video that Matt had done about swim jigs. Swim jigs.
Oh, dude, that was a great video.
So good, man. So I went back.
I was frothing on that. I talk back and forth. They actually live here.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
Matt and Tim. And so I've gotten the opportunity to just kind of converse back and forth. Nicest salt the earth guys you'll ever meet.
I've heard that from
and they'll
everybody.
sit there and just talk back and forth fishing with you. They're bass nerds just like I am.
Oh, yeah.
The wealth of knowledge, especially with the gear and the amount of tackle that he's got to deal with, like he puts in good time with all that. So it's like they are the authority as far as tackle, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think anyone else comes close with just the breadth of the knowledge that they give out. And so, I mean, I listened to that on the way back from a fishing trip. I was like, man, I got to go buy some swim jigs. Like I'm doing this completely different. I always do it the old, you know, the
Alabama shake, baby. That's my jam.
Which it works.
It does. Well, so this is what's wild.
What he's saying, you know, it's all about that trailer and like perfect pairing. And then he's just like, you don't have to do anything. And I was like, wait a second, you know, maybe I'm missing something. So again, nerd brain.
It's funny because the one thing that we've been trying, you know, that this show is trying to like really drill into our listeners' heads. The most important thing is that human memory is horrible. And if you're going to get growth, you need to keep good records. Like keeping records is huge. Do you keep? I assume I would assume with like a catalog of the catches you've got that you've got notes that you've taken and call back.
I have notes, and a lot of times what I do is I use my social media posts to track that. So I've got the pictures; they pop up in memories, and I'm like, oh, last year this time they were doing this.
Yeah.
And sometimes that just gives me a little deal in my head. But at the same time, I don't like to do that all that much because our fisheries change so much every year.
Yeah.
The bite is completely different.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, for sure.
It'll blow your mind. And there's a lot of lakes like that. And so it's like I try to distance myself from history a lot. You know, it's like you got to fish it, just like the Johnny Schultz, Fish the Moment. Like he has one of the other coolest channels out there.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I talk back and forth with him, super cool guy. And he is extremely analytical like that. But that, to me, that's one of the smartest sayings that's ever been put out in fishing is fish the moment. Like, don't fish what you did yesterday. Don't fish what happened last year. Don't fish what was going on an hour ago when it was cloudy and now it's sunny. Fish what's going on right then and there.
So
live in the moment, be thinking 3 or 4 casts ahead. Keep your eyes up, keep constantly looking for surface activity, for bird activity.
And analyze.
Exactly.
It's crazy because I watched that tactical bassin video and I went back and I looked at, because I like to use a lot of the fishing apps. Like for a while I was using FishBrain to kind of just track my stuff as far as what was, and I love the statistics that it gives. Then I switched over to Angler and I started using that because it was a little bit more on the fly with like the button and stuff. I've lost my bullseye, so I've been having to do it manually on the phone. So, but anyway, what I did was one of the records that gave me was one of my highest performing baits. And it was a swim jig, and I had recorded a huge number of catches. And then in 2022, it changed. It's not that I stopped throwing that bait, but something else had kind of popped up because I just wasn't getting bit with that swim jig anymore. So I went back and I looked into some of the notes of the catches that were there, and I had changed my trailers. I had gone from throwing a paddle tail, like a Kitech style paddle tail, as my go-to to throwing either like a longer shaped crawl, like the X-Zone craws, the Adrenaline crawl, which is a great crawl. Or what was the other one I was throwing? And for a more compact swim jig, I would throw like a Rage Menace on the back. And I wasn't getting bit nearly as much. So I said, all right, we're going to go ahead and fool around with this. So in that video, they talked about it was Matt had mentioned, throwing a paddle tail, but going with a larger size paddle tail than you're comfortable with. And I
do that a lot.
And I thought about you this as soon as I saw that. I was like, 5-inch paddle tails. I'm like, I've got some of those that I had just picked up after that trip. In fact, and sadly, I had a money bag pop out of my kayak on my way to a lake one day. Yeah, so a lot of those 5-inch swim baits are gone. They're absolutely gone. But I had a couple of packs still stowed away. So I grabbed like a green pumpkin blue. It was a Guggen Saucy Swimmer at 4.8 inch, and I popped it on the back of this swim jig. The jig that I like to throw is a 6 Sense Divine swim jig.
That's a hard one to beat.
Color combinations are amazing. Like, they're great. I usually lean toward a lot of natural stuff, but there's this one, I think it's called Dark Water Gill, and it's got a skirt on it that's green pumpkin on the bottom, and on the top side, it's black and blue. So I popped this on here. Dude, no bullshit. I fished 3 different bodies of water, 7 hours in between all of them, between 3 trips. I hooked up on that one exact same jig on every body of water. I caught 3 fish that were over 17 inches. One of them was 19 and a quarter. And it was almost
Isn't
like I
that
could
wild?
call it. Yeah.
Isn't that wild? And I tell you, one of the most frustrating things, like talking on that same vein, as far as like something that was working phenomenally and then stopped working. Sometimes bait manufacturers will change the way that they make the bait.
Yeah, I've heard that too from many people.
Oh my gosh, that is the most aggravating thing.
Yep.
Especially if you run out of the OG and then you have the new one, like Zoom Swimmers, that happened.
Yeah.
Like the I don't know, the plastisol changed or something, but like we had a certain color Zoom Swimmer, the 5-inch that we could throw and just smash smallmouth and largemouth and spotted bass on tail races. And then all of a sudden it's like, it didn't get bit. I mean, it got bit, but you could tell
it was different.
You're like, it's just not working the same.
Yeah.
And then you start going, you pull out one of the old packs and you throw it and you're like, dude, I'm getting bit again.
Oh, yeah.
And you start putting the pieces together like, they've changed this. And you start looking at the swim.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A little bit different. It's amazing how big a difference that actually makes.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's a huge change because like they say the devil's in the details. Like, those little details, they matter. And I'm one of these people that likes to think like, a stick bait's a stick bait, a paddle tail's a paddle tail, but it's not. It's really, really not. And, it's like you can make some generalizations, and you can kind of go through. Like, I remember there was one time I went and I think I needed like drop shot weights or something. And I went in this tackle shop and a dude was trying to sell me like these giant egg sinkers. He was like, well, just like tie a knot at the end. And I was like, these are 1/2 ounce. Like, I'm looking for like 1/8 ounce like drop shot weights.
The fish on the way down.
Yeah, exactly. And he said to me, he was being an asshole, but he was like, sometimes as fishermen, what we have to do is just deal with what we've got. And I agree with that to a point. You know what I mean? Like you can't turn, a yum dinger into,
a general or
like a Huddleston. You're not going to turn those things into this. Like, it's you gotta, and that's an extreme situation. But it's like the details do matter. It's a big deal.
It matters more during the transition periods. It matters more, like the little subtleties in a bait. So there's obviously times. So a bunch of fish moved up spawning, right?
Yeah.
They're going to eat a wacky rig. You can pick up pretty much any wacky rig and catch fish on it. Whatever worm you would like to throw. Boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
But there's probably 1 or 2 that are working a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it's the times when you have like, a transition from summer to fall or from fall to winter or from spring, winter to spring. Those are the transition periods. And that's when like the tiniest details matter the most. That's when because not all the fish are biting. Or the fish are in flux.
Yeah.
Right. They're in motion and stuff like that. And it's amazing to me. It's like you can go, and I'm in communication with a lot of the like really good anglers on this lake pretty much daily. And we'll call each other like, hey, how'd you do? What was going on? Blah, 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 blah. And we're fishing. I'm talking a range from like all the way at the top end of this lake to the bottom end of this lake.
And that's miles.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm talking miles, bro. So one of the crazy things that you come to find out is that you could be doing the same thing and fish a spot like, you fish with this bait, like say it's chatterbait. You went down this line of grass with a jackhammer and didn't catch a thing. Like you had a few fish nip at it.
Yep.
And your buddy goes back with the exact same trailer, the exact same color, but with the original jackhammer or the stealth blade, say, and smashes them.
Man, that one little thing could be the reason.
The same dang thing. Yeah. Everything is the same. Trailer's the same. We trim it up the same. Color's the same. But it's the subtleties of the way that blade interacts with it. And it's amazing to me that makes that big of a difference as far as it's not like, hey, I got bit once and you got bit 3 times. Yep. It's like I didn't have a fish actually latch onto it that could eat it, and you caught 12 fish in that same patch of grass. And some of it's timing too. That's another thing we talk about back and forth. It's like we'll call each other. I'm like, dude, I'm smashing them right now. It's like, yeah, I just started smashing them too. All the way 20, 30 miles an hour or 30 miles down lake.
Yeah. And it's just because like that time of day.
Start to bite, they bite everywhere. That's what you see on Bassmaster on live too, and like MLF. You notice that? Like nothing's happening, and all of a sudden everybody fish catch, boom, 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 and then it's nothing. And they're all the way at different areas of the lake.
Oh yeah, fishing different styles, different structure, and it's
when they decide to go, they go.
Yeah, it's true, and it's I think for a lot of people too, they don't realize the sheer numbers of populations of fish that are in there. Like you're not talking about, you go to a 1 acre pond or you're not talking about the one fish. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're going to be relating to different shit. There's also that theory that like the biggest fish are like lone wolves, like the biggest bass, they're not going to hang out where those big schools are, congregating on one piece of structure. They're probably going to be all on their own.
I'll tell you. So I've in my mind, I've pretty much eliminated that theory. I used to big swim bait fish and stuff, and that's the way I treated it. I would have like an isolated piece of timber or a stump or a certain point or a vertical log or an end of certain dock, and I knew I was going to catch a big one off of that. You were going to draw her off, and you were going to catch her. Yeah. Well, with this advent of live scope. And with me doing these live bait trips all the time and seeing, so many fish, like I've seen so many big fish on live scope now, I can tell you within a pound how big that fish is. Yeah. Start swimming towards that shad. And I'll tell you, it doesn't seem to matter what time of the year, they're never alone. If you see one, there's usually between 3 and 5.
No shit.
And they're usually about the exact same size. Every single time. The reason why you only catch one, and Milliken actually kind of let the cat out of the bag on this too, because Ben and I have been talking about it for eons. Yep. Milliken actually let the cat out of the bag. He's like, the only reason that you only caught the one is because you pulled the whole school to the boat.
Oh yeah. Now
every time when you hook that big girl and you get her, it'll pull that other set of fish all the way towards the boat. Yep. They'll go back to it, but they're never going to eat.
Yeah. And gotcha.
Until the next day. You know what I mean? Sense. And you go back, you catch another big one. Like, it must have been another one moved up there. No, she was there yesterday.
Yeah. She just got spooked and wasn't going to eat.
Yep. And then, Bertha got yanked out of there. So she.
It's crazy with live scope because it does give so much more insight. Like we're experiencing it on the show. Joe's got live scope on his Skeeter. He's been using it for a couple of years. And now Sean, he's very involved in local kayak tournament trails and regional ones as well. And I mean, he's like it's one of these things where it's everywhere. I got to take the leap, and in a kayak, it's a little bit of a different animal because you don't really have the ability to have spot lock on every single boat. Like not everybody is out there using a Minn Kota with spot lock. And even then that's got challenges, but like on such a light boat, like a kayak, the way he's using it or the way he's kind of describing it is almost as just like a downward periscope where like he can see fish in the future and stay off of them and then just make a cast over and try and get over to them. And it's more or less like identifying structure he didn't, necessarily see that was there, or finding out where in the column that they're set up. And sometimes that's a lot. So it's interesting to kind of see him go through this learning process because I know that the technology is out of this world, and I'm probably a handful of years before I take the leap and go into it, just because I can't see the investment being worth it in my kayak yet.
Yeah.
But like, I see the ability that it gives people to kind of understand.
Some of the best kayak anglers run that, and they're really good at it.
Yeah.
Like Damon Powell over in California.
Yep.
You know, he wins pretty much everything in California. You know, he's AOI in every trail over there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Kid is dang good with the live scoop. He's got his little custom mount and stuff that he's done on there. Christine Fisher's a freaking hammer with it.
Yep.
There's a lot of anglers out of there that make a living kayak fishing with that live scope. To me, it's all about, you know, you can narrow down like a retrieve that's working or a retrieve that's not working.
Yep.
Fish that are following that you would have never seen, that you got them, you know, it's like, okay, they're not going to commit at all. And that's another thing. When I cast over to a fish, I can tell you immediately by the way that they turn on that bait if they're going to eat it.
Gotcha.
It's you can tell from their attitude.
It's like a different sort of turn.
Like this fish, when he turned on it, I was like, I can literally just put my trolling motor on high and troll across the whole lake, and it follow that bait all the way across the lake.
No shit. He's just committed to it.
Never eat it. And so that's one of the things. And another thing that I've found with that is that big fish never stop moving. Like, you can tell a bass every time. Like, you know, I thought, well, maybe it'll be hard to tell, especially in an area I'm seeing carp rolling, you know, or big gar and stuff. You're like, well, maybe I'm just seeing a gar here. No, it's obvious every time, because a bass is always moving. They have like one speed that they're constantly moving at. And if you see a fish sitting still that looks like a bass, it's not it looks like a 7-pounder. It's not. Yeah. That's a carp.
Gotcha.
Or that's a catfish.
Yeah.
But if you see that one cruising over that structure and it's got two of them right there, it's like, tell right away, you're like, okay, those are definitely bass.
Yeah. And those are just those.
Looking at that, it's like it's a tall blob. A big fish looks like a tall blob. That's a crappie.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
That you can see a tail.
Gotcha.
That's when you know you've got a giant.
No shit.
You can see that. So the head will look about the size of an Alabama rig going through there on that system, and there'll be a long tail behind it. And buddy, you better get ready, because that's the right kind. It's usually an over when you see that. Yeah,
when that bite goes down, get ready. It's on.
Yeah. But you can actually use that thing to follow a fish too. Josh Jones is phenomenal at that. So is Joey Walton.
Yep.
Out, he's way out there doing this, catching those 8 and 9 pound smallmouth and stuff.
Jesus, I can't even imagine.
Crazy. But that's what those guys, they'll follow that fish because you can keep putting a bait right on. If you're good with it, you can bait right on their mouth. And I've caught a ton of bonus fish, like literally penduluming a bait to an inactive fish's mouth as she's swimming. If you can hit her in the head with it,
she's gonna bite it. Yeah,
she'll bite it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know if it's a defensive mechanism, but you can get them to go even when they're inactive sometimes on that thing like that, if you get really accurate with it.
It really is an amazing tool. And it's just, I think it's one of those things like anything, anytime there's new technology or a new item that gets out there, folks get really, really, really like upset about it. Like, oh, what did I do? Like, because in a way, it's crazy, because we've spent so many years thinking that we understand what these creatures are doing. And this is eye-opening.
I put in the research.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I knew in my brain what I was doing and what was happening under that water. Having that live scope on there just for a few months has completely blown a lot of my expectations out of the water on how many bass are actually in the lake that you present a bait to in a day. Like, that's kind of discouraging in one way. Like, you're catching 1% of the fish that you're presenting a bait to. And two, it's like fish behavior. Like, as a bass geek, the fish behavior part of it is the coolest thing. Like, actually seeing how a fish will ambush, or a group of bass will ambush something.
Yep.
And seeing one thing that you'll see, I was talking about those fish cruising all the time. And then we were talking about before I had live scope or anybody had it, you'd have this one cast and you were going to catch a big one on that, right?
Yep.
It was either going to happen or it wasn't going to happen. And what it is those fish are always moving. So I've found several spots where this is been proven true for me. These fish are actually moving up and down a certain area, right? So you've got this like little schools of really big fish.
Yep.
They're moving up and down. Nothing's happening. But when they get to one area, if they swim to that area, the only reason they swim up there is to feed.
Oh, okay.
Right? Their demeanor changes. Like you can cast to that fish when it's in flux, when it's moving in these other areas, part of that point or part of this little flat, and they won't even be interested at all. But if you get them up there to that original waypoint where you were catching them before,
where they're going to eat,
swim into there, and you make the cast when they're in that area, they're completely different attitude. They'll turn and they'll shoot right up to your bait and eat it. And so it's literally there's feeding zones. Those fish are always moving.
Yep.
But they're literally what they're doing, in my opinion, what I think they're doing is they're cruising out of an area, kind of letting it acclimate. So all those bluegill, all the shad and stuff, everybody's kind of chill again.
Yep.
They move back into this area and then they slide back in and then they can ambush. They attack, boom, they're out again.
Yep. The predator's gone. Everybody gets comfortable again.
Like wolves with sheep or something. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. No, it makes sense. I mean, it's the animal kingdom. I mean, all these things, it's all impulse and instinct, really.
Yeah.
That's freaking nuts. It's one of those things where like I rented. When did I first get into electronics? Was it 2021? I got my first sonar and I was using downscan sonar, traditional 2D, and I'm like, this is great. I can see all this structure, and here I am. I'm trying to base everything that I'm doing on the structure. I'm like, okay, so I'm going to stay off of this ledge, and so I can be as stealthy as I can, and I'm gonna work this bank along here, but I'm gonna let my bait drop. Right about here where that, drop off is there so I can get back to the bottom or whatever, and I'm trying to construct these things in my mind. But then you're like, LiveScope is truly giving so much more than just, I mean, obviously you get a great look at what's going on as far as structure goes.
Yeah, exactly.
And you get a whole different perspective of it too, which is amazing. But the fish behavior side of it, it's just like that, I think is a true game changer for everybody. So, I mean,
if you choose to use it for that, and it choose to be, analytical about what you're seeing and to start drawing, conclusions and similarities between what you're seeing, it's amazing how fast you can narrow down certain things. And just, again, like being someone who's put thousands of hours into research, I realize it's like a lot of us had no clue what was actually going on down there. We had an idea. It's like, but we were drawing, we didn't have the data available to draw the right conclusions.
That's exactly it. And you need that data to be able to process it and figure it out.
You have the more accurate. Period.
Yep. No, it makes sense.
The technology is for, in my opinion. It's not necessarily for, chasing around a giant fish, which is the way that you can do it. You can be the Josh Jones, you can be the Ben Milliken and chase, only cast at 8-pounders all day long.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it's also something that you can do just to understand what's going on in a certain area, to learn an area better, to learn a group of fish better, especially in the wintertime. Those fish are going to be there all winter. So you get to learn, like, again, where's the feeding area?
Yep.
Where's the area that they get pissed off at? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, pinpoint that.
Like, so when you pull up at a glance, you're like, they ain't set up right.
There you go. And then that's what's nice is I hear this all the time, especially with tournament anglers, time management, and I think that kind of plays into it. If you're just like, why am I going to make these casts to these fish that aren't necessarily, don't
waste your time. You can waste so much time with LiveScope. It's unreal.
Yeah. It makes sense.
You can fish for hours for inactive fish because there's 100 of them sitting there. It's like, man, there's 100 bass there. I should be able to get one to bite.
Yeah. And they may just not bite based on location. No shit. Let's talk as far as, now I have a feeling what I think your answer may be here, but this is about confidence baits, like baits that you put your faith into. What do you say like your short list is of baits that you throw? Like, let's say you're on the boat and you've got a client there and they're just, you're having one of these tough days, like they're turned off for whatever reason.
Yeah.
What are the baits that you're going to throw to kind of get them going?
Okay, so like startup baits to get a bite in a pinch. I'd say, let's see here. We're talking year round too. In a pinch, pretty much any time of the year, I know I can pick up a shaky head.
Oh yeah,
and catch. Like that's especially that it's very specific though. It's in deep water. I rarely throw over an eighth of an ounce, and I also usually throw Elastec products in my shaky heads, which is kind of a sneaky thing to do because what it does, since the Elastec is so buoyant, it slows the fall down even more.
And so when you're throwing a light jig, that makes sense. Yeah.
You're catching suspended fish. You're having suspended fish follow it down to the bottom because it's moving awkwardly slow. It's not like a wacky rig. It's not horizontal. It's kind of dipped at an angle. It'll just pendulum down there. So that's one year round. You can, when the wheels fall off, you can pick that thing up and catch fish on.
Yep.
Another one year round that you can pull out of the hat and catch a fish on is a Carolina rig, whether a heavyweight or a lightweight. With a short leader and some kind of a creature bait or a swim bait, like a fluke style.
Yep.
Depending on what's going on the time of year, because you can cover so much water with it. It's like throwing a crankbait that's finessey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can bomb that thing out there 18 miles from the boat and pull back and run that. So that's another one that I know when the wheels come off, I can pick that up and catch a fish on. See here. Another one, talking reaction bites, a mid-sized swim bait for me year round, especially like a hollow body or a semi-hollow body, something in that 4 to 5 inch range.
Yep.
I can pick that up in the dead of winter, coldest day, and catch a fish on it. I can pick that up in the hottest day and catch a fish.
I had a feeling that was going to be in the list for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, that's one that, and then that's another one is a jig. And
definitely.
I use MGC Custom Tackle. They make what they call the sniper jig, and it's a combination. It's like a flipping jig that you can actually swim to. It's got a vertical line tie on it, and so
I love that.
It's like one of those multi-use things. I can put it on there, and it's like boom! I see a grass patch. I fire it over there, and I pop it over like a swim jig.
Yeah.
And then the next, I go a little further. I see a stump, slide it into that stump, skip it under a dock. I can do whatever I come across in between what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I've got a target. If it's, I can hit that target with that jig. And then I know that's a high percentage that you're going to get that better bite too.
It's funny that you mentioned that, like a flipping style jig that you can swim, because when the show first went live and Sean and I started throwing ideas together, and there was a demand for things like merch and all this other stuff, we started to use, like, for giveaways, these jig kits that we would put together, and they were basically 4 3/8 ounce jigs in colors that we believe in, that work great generally in waters that we fish. But the head style that we chose is one of these that Sean has used this for years, made the recommendation to me. I was looking to go all lead free because we live in Mass, so it's a lead free state. So we got these jigs from a company called leadfreebassjigs.com, which is like regional. They're in Massachusetts. And there's something about this jig. It kind of hits all the right notes. It's not the heaviest hook. I'll tell you that much right now. Like up north, you don't really necessarily need these giant heavy wire hooks.
When I'm up there, I don't fish above 15-pound test hardly at all.
Yeah, I mean, really, you can get away with with a lighter wire hook. It's got a unique sort of shape to it. You know what? I have one. I'm going to show it to you.
Yeah,
I just hit my lights.
I'm all about that, Jim.
It's such a good. So this is the kit, right? And it's just 4 jigs. And I'm going to show you, because I think it'll show up easier. I'm going to show you this color here, which is a real, like, natural, almost like kind of perchy color.
Ooh, right? That looks great.
Yeah, it's so nice.
And I mean, that's a perfect style. It's like an in-between. It's a modified Archie style head.
That's exactly it. And it's got this hook that's got a real
got the O'Shaughnessy bend hook.
Yeah, it's a whole other kind of beast. And it doesn't have a vertical line tie, but I found that it really this just does the job. So I can, and that's part of the reason why I like throwing these, is that they're so effective and you get so much versatility, when you're throwing something like this. And you're right, like, jigs will get bit every single day of the year, Yeah,
exactly. It's something, it's high percentage. And it's, to me, I'm always looking for something high percentage for a big bite.
Yes.
I have different baits depending on the time of the year. It's like, if I pick that up and I throw it and I bring it across a 2-pounder, he's going to eat it.
Yeah.
But if I bring it across that 8-pounder, it's a good chance she's going to swing on it too.
Going to eat it too. Exactly.
Exactly what you're trying to do. It's like you're trying to put yourself in front of as many big fish in a day as you possibly can, the biggest amount of biomass you can, so that when that little bite window actually does happen,
you're in that spot.
in a good spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you fished the other 5 spots, and if you were there right now, you would have caught her too.
Exactly.
But you're never in a spot that it's like, it's like, okay, this is all dinks.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Leave immediately then. Like if I know it's like I'm seeing, okay, there's 100 2-pounders down here, and there's like a couple fish over 5 pounds.
Yep.
I don't care. I'm out. Peace. Because I know I'll go find somewhere else. You get on these lakes that have so many fish in it.
Yeah.
If you're not catching fish, move. If you're not catching the right size fish, move.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
No, it makes sense. It's nuts because, there's that golden rule. You don't leave fish to find fish.
Yeah.
But
unless you do.
It's crazy because, and especially like going back to live scope, like once you've got the experience with using live scope and you can determine, and you've got the knowledge to determine the size of fish that you're actually looking at. Yeah, it might be time to move along, and get an idea. I have a feeling we're going to see a day in tournament fishing where 95% of pre-fishing that's going on has nothing to do with a hook even being in the water. It's going to primarily be with like looking at spots, looking at fish, and just moving along, and cruising to cover water in that sense to kind of figure out like, okay, so what are we looking at here?
But there's a whole frontier. And so Gussie, when he won the Bassmaster over here, he hit on something that we've kind of been talking back and forth on. Like a lot of these lakes that have rock veins or deep lakes and stuff like that, or deep structure lakes, these fish will glue themselves to that stuff, and they won't show up on live scope at all.
Oh.
If you can sit perfectly still, if it's calm out and you can sit perfectly still, sometimes you can see the bottom slightly crawl. And okay, that rock, the very top of this rock is just barely
it's moving.
And then you throw a bait over top of that and 10 big ones come up. They just materialize.
Oh, really?
So there's a whole frontier of fish that are not going to be susceptible to live scope that you're just going to have to know. You're going to have the confidence to go in there just like Gussie did and be like, this is the right kind of stuff. Let me drop a bait on it, see what happens.
No shit. What was it? What was he throwing? That classic.
Throwing, so they call it the stroll. It's like a strolling rig or something like that. Doodling or something they call it up there. But basically, it's a jig head with a 90-degree line tie, lightweight jig head, and a fluke style bait. He was using the main version of it, and minnows or something like that.
Yeah.
But it basically what you're doing again. It's something that we do a lot with small swim baits. It's something that they do a lot on highland reservoirs around here. Kind of invented, and they call it tight lining.
Yeah, that's right.
So what you're trying to do is you've got a lightweight bait that you're trying to just leave in the strike zone for an awkwardly long time.
Gotcha.
Allow those fish in cold water or whatever situation to pull a long distance to feed on that thing. So it's like you're keeping your rod tip up, you're letting that thing pendulum down, and a lot of times you're slightly ticking that rod because when you tick it undulates and actually lifts it again. So it's staying in that same, it's like working a spook, right?
Gotcha.
It's staying in their zone just a little bit too long.
Like a Demiki rig almost.
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
Correct. It's
gotcha.
a castable Demiki rig, pretty much. And it's something that he catches fish on it, just drop it on. He'll talk about that. I mean, that was the original Demiki rig.
Yeah.
It was really invented up there by Al Linder and those guys doing that. That was the OG Demiki rig right there. And it was something that you cast or you dropped.
And I think
they were kind of at the same time. It was a version of that was invented in like Dale Hollow Lake and a lot of these highland reservoirs in the southeast part of the states and stuff like that. Same kind of deal. It was that tight lining with really small baits, usually like a oversized crappie jig and an oversized crappie minnow.
It's a good way to describe it. That's a real good way to describe it too. Like having it have like just an awkward fall rate.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good way to describe it.
I'm always going for something like that. If you want to catch really big fish they are territorial.
Yeah.
And so when they're in that feeding state, when they're in that feeding location, which is a small location, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can leave something in there long enough, they can't take it. Like there's something about that fish that's like a territorial thing.
Yep.
It's also because there's, like I said, there's almost always 2 to 5 fish together that are big fish right together. And so it's like, it's sitting there, it's not doing anything. And then this 8-pounder gets a little closer, and then this one's like, oh, hell no.
Yeah. They become competitive.
Nose down on it, and you popped it one time, and they freaked out.
Yep. Huh. Interesting. You're giving me all kinds of ideas for Moosehead. This could be good. This could be really good.
I've had so many clients lately, and like they've talked to me, and they're like, I cannot believe how slow you actually are talking about when you're talking about dragging a shaky head.
Oh, yeah.
Drag it slow. And they start doing, pulling that thing along. I'm like, no. I'm like, cut that speed in half.
It's wild.
Rod tip, just tink, counting rod, tink, counting rod, tink, counting rod, tink. And then you slowly reel back.
Mm-hmm.
Tink, counting rod, tink. And then all of a sudden you go, boom.
And that's all it takes.
A lot of fish, it's like if I know there's a fish in that area, I'll just throw it and leave it.
Yep.
I can't tell you how many big ones I've caught, even on huge swim baits, like 10-inch swim baits.
Oh, yeah.
Just literally dead sticking. I threw it out there, had a backlash, and like a minute later, I reel it up. And all of a sudden, it goes, bloop, start swimming off.
If I had $1 for every time that's happened to me, where I'm just like, I'm putting I'm reeling in all this additional line, and I'm like, whoa, that wasn't me. And hold on, let's just set the hook. And that's why I try to tell everybody that I fish with, because one of my favorite things to do is to fish with people who have never fished before. My favorite, and this is probably, I'm sure you run into this too. Like you get somebody on your boat that's never caught a decent fish at all. Like they maybe caught panfish or something.
Exactly.
And they get into one and they're just like, holy shit. Oh, what is her name? Hannah. She's from Georgia. Son of a bitch. There's a video and she's in her kayak and she pulls, and this thing's got to be 10, 11 pounds. And she's holding on to this thing and she's just got tears streaming out of her eyes. She's like, holy shit. And she's no slouch. Like she's been doing this forever, but it's just like, holy shit. And like that's for me, that's my ultimate goal. Like I want to be able to take some knowledge, go, and I'm trying to do that this year with some folks that, when I might host my game shows and stuff, I've been telling people, I'm like, you've never fished from a kayak? I've got 2. Let me take you. Let's go and catch some fish. I love
that kind of stuff. It's like, I've never caught a topwater fish.
Oh my God.
That's really fun. Or I've never, I've never worked a big worm or jig before.
Yep.
I don't know what a jig bite feels like. And I'm like, it's so cool to watch somebody go from not having any experience with that, and then they get that first bite, and the light bulb just.
And sometimes that's all it takes.
That's what that feels like.
Yep.
And then they get the next one, and then pretty soon it's like this excitement. They're like, okay, I know now. I'm like, that's a rock. That's a rock. That's a rock. Oh, that's not a rock.
Yep. Hook sets are free. Go for it.
That's what I always tell people. I'm like, take prisoners, not chances.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's so funny too. Like use the example of like a jig bite. I remember I made the conscious decision that, I had, when I got into fishing, like I said, later in life, I went and I subscribed to, I think Tackle Grab was the first subscription box I ever subscribed to. And it was great. It was just because I was like, I don't know what to buy, so I might as well have this stuff sent to me and I'll figure it out. And, first largemouth I had caught was on square bill crankbait. I was like, okay, cool. All right. We'll try and use this a little bit more and we'll try and catch on, and figure out the right conditions and where to throw this and how it works. I lost so many square bills trying to learn that, but now I've got a pretty good understanding. I would get jigs sent to me and I would look at them and I'm just like, how does this catch fish? What does this even actually look like? And I remember there was just one day, it was just one of these rough days. I made, and I'm one of these stubborn guys that like, if I get an idea in my head, I'm just doing it, because I don't fish tournaments. So for me, that's what it's about. It's just about, hey, what can I learn? What can I figure out? And I'll never forget the first day I threw a 3/8 ounce green pumpkin jig with a small, like it was a Christy craw, I think, on there on the back. Yeah. And I popped it over. I was fishing over by this one dam, and there's one place that I still fish today. I bank fish there all the time. And it got hit like a freight train. And I was like, oh, and this was at the time probably one of the biggest largemouth I've ever caught in my life.
You swing, it just locks down. You got that big hook in there.
And
big line.
Yeah. And I'm like, holy
I'm
shit.
sold. Deal.
It's unbelievable. I was like, you got to be kidding me. This is bananas. And it was once, and it's a light bulb going off moment where you're just like, holy shit. Now I think I figured it out where I know what to at least look for. What are the things I should be doing with this?
Yeah.
And especially,
I know when I got bit, you know what I mean? That's the coolest thing is when people realize that's what a bite feels like.
Yep.
Or that mushy feeling when you picked up, you didn't feel the initial bite. And it's just like, that's not right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like, wait a second. My shaky head is just a tiny bit heavier than it was before.
My favorite bite ever is like, and I had a couple of these that were like this on a swim jig, and this is why I like fast reels, is because this was where I had cast the jig up into some laydowns and some timber, and fish came up and was coming straight at me. So I just had all this slack line there. I was like, oh shit, hold on. I can't even feel this jig. So I just reel up real fast and I just swing for the fences. Thank God my kayak is as stable as it is. And I just lay right into these. And there was two of them that bit like that, just happened to be coming straight toward the boat and nothing. I was just like, holy shit. Okay, let's jack them and we'll see what we get. And it paid off. That's my favorite kind of bite.
I was fishing a big fish tournament a few years ago. It's one of those ones you get paid by the hour and stuff.
Oh,
and I caught one that was almost 9, post spawner, huge fish. Should have been a 10-pounder if it wasn't, post spawn. But I was dragging on this like little shallow shell bed with a lightweight Carolina rig. Basically, it's more like a split shot rig, honestly. And then I had this big, they call it a Hag's tornado worm on the back of that. It's like a big 8-inch ringworm,
Yep.
I'm dragging that thing and I'm talking. I actually had an old family friend that's like, they're fishing on this other side. We're just kind of chatting back and forth. I'm dragging it. It's like tink, tink, hitting rocks. And all of a sudden I go to drag it and there's nothing there. I'm like, what? And I start reeling faster. I'm like, holy crap, where is this thing?
Yeah.
And they're right under the boat. I finally catch up to the fish and swing.
Oh,
it's like 6 foot water. And I have her on like a 15-foot string. She's just all over the place, going crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Coolest things, though. I was like, oh, my gosh.
I live for that shit. And it's like, it makes for good stories, and that's to me, that's one of the best things about fishing. So actually, this is perfect. One of my favorite things about fishing is like, and I've said this is the social part. Like, you go out with the right people, and it could be a lackluster day of fishing. You might take a skunk, and if you're with the right folks, it doesn't matter. You're going to have a great time. You're going to be able to, digest that hard pill to swallow of like, wow, we didn't catch anything. What do we learn? Subconsciously, it's all going on, but you're laughing and having a good time. So if you had like a wish list, like your top 3 folks, and you fished with some people already that are folks that have been talked about on this show before. If you could fish with 3 people, they can be living or dead. They can be famous. They could be people you actually know. They could be anybody. Who would be on your list of folks you would love to have on your boat? Like, and actually, you can even put.
Number 1, I'll be really surprised if no one said this one. Mark Zona.
Oh yeah, we've had folks say Zona all the time. He
just seems like the coolest dude on the planet. That's like a dream. Like if I could fish with Mark Zona one day, boom, I would be just like a kid in a candy store.
I mean, plus like if he's just talking while you're fishing, it's almost like you've got him announcing for you right there.
We don't have to fish. Let's just go grab a beer.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's got stories forever.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever. Yeah, we've had Zona a bunch.
Zona would be my number 1. I think my number 2 would probably be Ben Milliken.
Oh, yeah.
I would just like to be on the boat with him and, especially talk live scope, talk big baits, because that's something I'm really into also. I haven't really divulged a lot of my big bait information and knowledge that I have, just because I'm trying to keep it kind of close to the vest a lot of times. But I think it's really neat what he's doing. And I've seen him, that he's done some things on some videos that I have learned and talked to a few guys about, and he hasn't mentioned what he's doing yet. I saw one of the things that he was doing when he won that tournament the other day. It's something very similar to what I've done too, and I'm like, that's
good to know.
Figured this out too. It's really cool to see somebody else come up with that information, and he just seems like a really cool guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I think like it'd be fun as hell to hang out with.
Yep. I've been watching his content for a short time. He had a podcast that I loved. I thought it was great, and I wish you would have stuck with it. And he's just an absolute hammer. You know, he really is. But yeah.
So again, you can see a theme. Most of it's like guys I think would be super fun having a boat. Like, well, I'm going to learn something obviously, but we're going to have a damn good time. So number 3, golly, that's a tough one, man.
It is tough because like there's a lot of people that
I think I would say Matt and Tim. I haven't fished with them yet.
Who's that?
Would be Matt and Tim.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, it would be.
Yeah, because again, those are really cool guys. Like they're cooler in person than they are. Like they seem pretty serious on their deal, but they're actually really funny guys, really cool guys to hang out with and stuff. So I think it'd be fun to just hang out with them, swap stories all day.
That's awesome.
Maybe swing on a bass or two, and then same thing with the other guys. Just literally just shoot the bull all day long.
I love that.
If I caught a fish, great. If I didn't, I still had the time of my life.
That's exactly it. You know, it's like that's the beauty about fishing. Like, you know, when you're out there with the right people, it's just like it is crazy. There was it last summer? I think last summer we went out this one local pond. There was a bunch of folks from Instagram that we all kind of know each other, and it just sort of started with a couple of people fishing together. Like, oh, let's invite a bunch of people. So we all ended up meeting at this one ramp, and it was abysmal. The fishing, it was ridiculous. A couple of people had okay days. Most of us didn't catch shit. It was crazy, and we still had the best time ever. Like we ended up in some like gas station parking lot, you know, eating chips and drinking soda and just telling stories for like 2 or 3 hours afterwards. It was awesome. And that's the thing. It's like you can turn a day around like that, and it's freaking awesome.
It all depends on you.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it's 100% how you want to take it, how you want to, you know, it's like some of the toughest days that I've ever had on the boat I've had with, you know, good friends, and we had a blast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, you know, we gave each other crap about it, and we go on our merry way, but really it was just, it's the camaraderie. It's the time. I know that sounds easy, but like, it's the time that you spend with the right kind of people. That's really, you know, when it comes to any kind of social aspect of fishing, to me, that's the biggest thing.
Camaraderie is the name of the game. It is so funny too, because like I said, I'm not a tournament angler. Both Sean and Joe are really into tournaments. I know you dabble a little bit in tournaments as well.
Everyone's like, I would consider myself more like you. Like, I'm not into it at all.
Yep.
It is the last thing on my mind at any time. But if I got one of my bros who's like, hey, I don't have a partner. Can you hop in this dirt with me?
Sure, why not? Yeah.
Yeah. But they know right off the bat that I'm there 1,000% for the fun.
Yeah, exactly.
When I hand over that money, it's like, okay, I just donated $100, whatever it was. And now I'm going to go out and have fun.
It's so funny. We do a nationwide multi-species scavenger hunt style tournament.
Awesome.
It's freaking nuts. And the May one kicks off. The Jigs and Bigs May tournament kicks off. Now you should check it out. It's on Fishing Chaos. It's awesome. It's the top, I forget the exact number of species, but it's the top sport fish in the entire US, basically, is what we kind of try to like mold it around. So it's crazy. You'll get these like absolute like hammer tournament anglers that will kill it in the bass yeah, but they're losing their mind to get a 6-inch minimum bluegill or panfish. Yeah. And it's amazing because like we have so we alternate months right now with an organization called Chronic Trips. I'm sure you can imagine what that has to do with. Yeah. And what the only difference between that month and the Jigs and Bigs month is that the Jigs and Bigs month is exclusively freshwater. Chronic Trips does include saltwater. We have a listener of the show who's in our area. He's in Massachusetts. And in fact, his son had sent me an email to surprise him on his birthday with just a happy birthday greeting on the show. He's in first freaking place in Chronic Trips. Or I should say last episode, as of our last episode standings, he was in first place, like killing it over some of these other dudes simply because he's got the diversity of species. He's got a good number of trout. He's got, you name it.
I've always been that way. Like, yeah. I tell people all the time, like, I think the first time I went up to fish with Ben Nowak up in Michigan.
Yep.
he was talking about, he's like, we got a huge cold front moving in, it's going to be like blowing 30 tomorrow. He's like, I don't know if we're going to catch them. I'm like, bud, like if we went out to this creek right by your house and caught 2 creek chubs, I would be happy. Like the fact that I'm here, I've already won.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care what it is. If it'll tug, if you got the right kind of equipment, it's fun as heck.
That's exactly.
And that's why I think so. You were talking about top 3 people.
Yep.
I'm going to add a 4th.
Go for it.
And that's probably would be more closer to the top. Actually, I just forgot. Richard Jean, the fishing machine.
Dude, isn't he the greatest human being? Oh my, I love Richard Jean.
You were like, hey, I got a tournament tomorrow and I got to catch red horse speckled suckers. He'd be like, dude, I know a spot for that. Like, I swear to God, like it doesn't matter what species it is, what time of the year, the cat knows how to catch it. Like he'll go out and catch whatever it is. I don't care what you throw anything at him over there.
You know what is amazing is that Richard Jean, like he kills it on multiple levels. First off, he is an angler's angler. He fishes for it all. And he rolls with like Jimmy Houston and like, you know what I mean? Like he's on that level, but the guy is engaging as hell. Like at the end of his videos, when he puts his hat sideways and he does that crazy voice and stuff.
Elmo. He turns into Elmo.
It's so good. And it's just like, this is entertaining. Like he gets it. So, and I love that like a guy his age, like just gets it,
It's so cool to me. Like, half the time he'll go out there and he's catching 3-pound crappie on, and he's got this cheap rod he got from Academy, and then he's got a reel from like 1938 that he took apart and re-greased. He's like, yeah, this is like a 1938 pin, blah, blah, blah. And then he catches a bunch of fish on it.
Oh, yeah.
And he's working out of like little tiny 14, 16-foot aluminum boats.
Little John boat.
A hand steer trolling motor.
It's so good.
Catches bigger fish, better fish than anyone else. I'm just like.
I think that I'll tell you what, I don't know that anybody's ever said Richard Jean on there. I want to twist this question up and kind of go back to the charter element. What are 3 like dream clients you wish you could have on your boat?
Ooh, like clients to take fishing.
Yeah, someone that you're just like, I would love to show you where to get 12 pounders on chick.
I think so. I think immediately when I think of that, I think more like celebrities.
Definitely. Oh yeah.
So I would say my number 1 would probably be Morgan Waller.
Oh, why not? Right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Semi-local, and he likes to fish. Like he's always talking about fishing Percy Priest and stuff like that.
Yep.
I'd love to take that dude out.
I got a bunch of good Morgan Wallen mashups recently for wedding season. Yeah.
Dude, that guy's good.
Yeah, he's good. He's good.
And then I'd go with The Rock. We know The Rock likes to fish.
Oh yeah,
Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I'd like to take him out there and have him throw a shad and try to catch a 12-pounder.
Oh hell yeah!
And let's see here, number 3. That's a toughie. I don't know.
It is.
I'm trying to think of somebody that's cross genre. I'll tell you who I'd like to take out is the kids from either Hushin. The guys that hunt Midwest, and they do all those crazy hunts, either them or the hunting public guys.
Gotcha. Have you done
any?
They
like to fish, but they're like year-round, extremely as analytical and as serious as a bass fisher as I am. They're the exact same way about hunting different species. I just think it'd be really cool to have those boys on.
You might have just given yourself an amazing idea. Like, what an amazing collaboration idea.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just go back and forth. Do you hunt at all?
Oh, I love to hunt.
Yeah. So, I mean, there you go. You go up in their area, you go on a hunt, you go and put them on giants. Like, the wheels are turning, dude. Like, things are, this is good.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That's a great idea. I'm full of them. What can I say? I'm full of them. This is so good, Caleb. This is great. Paul and I are definitely coming back. And actually, so I got a cousin of mine who my folks actually had just spent like 2-3 months in like Florida, pretty much the entire winter. While we were down there, they were there. I didn't realize that they were coming back shortly after. So we got back into town about a week later. My folks started making their way back north, and they were stopping in Knoxville for the Classic. Now, my folks are not like, intense anglers at all. My dad fishes periodically, and I love fishing my dad. It's great. But like he got me started throwing shiners and night crawlers, and that's the way we fished when I was a kid.
Which is freaking awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Believe me. And I had the chance to take him. So cool. I had the chance to take him to Champlain in 2021, and he's fished Champlain a bunch with his buddies, and he's a guy who never throws artificials. This man, I swear to you, outfished myself and the guy whose boat that we were on one 1/8 ounce Ned head, right?
Yep.
He didn't break off once, and he had one Guggen rattling Ned on there in PB&J, and he outfished everybody. And he's like, I've never thrown artificial like this before, ever.
That's literally my wife in a nutshell. When I take her out, like, she doesn't like. Okay, so one example, I took her out. It was similar to, it was probably in May a few years ago, and there were some fish that were moved out, kind of shallow schooling fish, and I knew they would hit like a lightweight shaky bait. I'm like, babe, just throw this out there, get on the bottom, just slow drag it, you're gonna get bit. And she would throw it out there, and I swear to God, she'd just start reeling it. She just reeled it. I was like, babe, you can't do that.
Slower, yeah.
Swing 2-pounder. I'm like, okay, but seriously, just drag it.
You got lucky that time.
And I'm sitting there. I've got the same thing tied on, and I'm not catching anything. Next cast, don't. Next cast, don't. She caught 37
off
of this point. A 7-pounder, reeling and a freaking like 8-pound shaky head. And I don't remember how many I caught, but buddy, I guarantee I didn't get double digits.
You know what? So you're giving me another idea. So my wife has caught like panfish in her life, couple of things here and there. We fished one time, she hooked into a turtle, and that's like her big bragging story right there. But I don't think she's ever I know she's never held a bass, but I don't think she's ever caught a largemouth. And I've brought her out. I usually get her out maybe once a year. Now, if I brought her, you know what I could do is I could tell her, hey, we're going to go. She wants to go to Dollywood. We can go to Pigeon Forge.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe we'll take a day and we'll fish with Caleb. And we'll you'll get that experience. That actually might not be a bad idea. I bring up this whole thing because my folks come back in and they met up with one of my cousins, and he and his wife had just bought a house near Douglas.
Yeah.
And my cousin calls me up and he's like, yeah, Bobby, next time you're down here, man, just let me know. He's like, just let me know. He's like, I'm going to be bringing the boat down here and we're going to do, I was like, oh, all right. Well, this is good. This is all brand new information for me. I've heard. Yeah. And so, I'm hoping to make Tennessee more of a regular thing because myself
I think some of my Michigan buddies are planning on doing that too, especially in the wintertime. You guys have hard water everywhere. It's still coldest, here, but at the same time, it's just like, at least you have open water and you have a chance to fish at a lot of these lakes. So it's like, it's never going to be as good as some of y'all's fisheries up north, but when all you have to do is ice drinking, then it's time to come down and
it's a good alternative. Yeah. There's nothing more sad than when I'm standing on my nicely closed in porch looking at my kayak with a cup of coffee, like it's going to be a few months. There's nothing worse than that.
I cannot even imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I like ice fishing, but it's, for me, that is like the supreme, like, social fishing. I'll go and, I'll set up.
That's what all my buddies call it. They call it ice drinking. It's like you go out there and you hang out with your boys, you cook up a few brats, you drink, a 24 pack.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We got a good system up here.
You might catch a perch or two, and it's like, you had fun.
It is wild. I want to ask you this last question before we wrap up. There's a favorite of ours, and it's got to do with like basically selecting a combo. So what we do is we have this scenario in our heads where Sean, Joe, and myself, we're in the Jigs and Bigs white van heading down to Tennessee to your area on an unnamed body of water. We're going to fish. You can bring all the tackle in your boat. All of it. Yeah. But we're going to go to a tackle shop of your choice. Maybe it's Talking Tackle. And you can buy a rod and a reel, right? Yeah. Unknown conditions, unknown where we're going to go. We have no idea. One rod, one reel. And what are you going to spool up on that for line? go ahead and build it. And of course, because it's Jigs and Bigs, we got the corporate credit card. We're coming down and footing the bill. So if you want to go all out, go all out.
Yeah. So, for me, I'm not a huge brand guy. I don't really care that much. So I always tell people, if you want a good bait caster, spend at least $200 on a reel.
Yep.
Spend at least $150 to $200 on a rod. That's going to give you, in this market, that's kind of something that that you can use for the next 5+ years.
Yep.
Abuse, you know what I mean? It's going to run. It's not going to blow a back wall out or strip gears or anything like that. So the first thing that I would do is let's go easy here. It's bait caster. I'm going to go 7-to-1, 7-to-2, some 7-gear ratio reel. Let's just put it that way. 7-gear ratio reel. So it's something I could work really slow baits with. It's something I could work really fast baits with. It's perfect in between for me. And then on rod, most guys are going to tell you a 7-foot medium heavy, right? Like you've heard that a million times.
A million times. Yep.
It's not. If you want the best all around rod, if you're seriously doing a trip with multiple baits, you're going to use, go 7.6 medium heavy.
I'm with you.
Okay. And the reason for that is, one, you're probably going to get a little bit more casting distance. You're going to lose accuracy on some of these little short flips and or skip casts and stuff like that. But what you're going to gain with that, what happens with a lot of these rods is that adding that extra 6 inches, it actually makes the action of the rod more moderate, for one. So instead of being fast, it's a mod fast. And another thing that it does is it enables you to have a deflection bite. So if you're fishing something really slow and you're kind of pulling it and lifting it, you can actually see that deflection bite without putting too much pressure on the fish, knowing that there's a bite there. Number 2 is you get a little bit extra when you're setting the hook, right? If you have a long cast out there, having a little bit extra, the action of the rod pushed out a little further gives you more backbone.
Yeah.
So you get the benefits of a sensitive tip with the benefits of having a little more backbone to
Exactly.
So that's what's sneaky about that. So you can use it to drag, you can use it to flip, you can use it to throw a swim bait or a chatterbait, because again, that moderate tip will allow it to load. It'll allow that fish to eat it, a moving bait.
Yeah.
So at that point, I could pick up, like if I'm going down here, I've got that combo. I'm going to spool it up with probably straight 15-pound test fluorocarbon.
Yep.
Or I'm going to spool it with 30-pound braid.
Yep.
And just run different leaders, like a mono or a fluorocarbon leader.
Yeah.
Because then I could run a top water on it. You know what I mean? I want to do that because that's a great top water rod too.
Oh yeah.
You can work a top water bait, and then again, it's soft enough with treble hooks to keep that fish pinned.
Yeah.
And you have that extra length. If you got a fish that's really covering water fast or jumping a lot and shaking, it keeps it loaded up.
Yep.
That extra length keeps it loaded up better. And so that fish can't unload the rod and create slack and get off.
Yeah. That's one thing that I have, because you hear it all the time, 7-foot medium heavy. That's like the go-to. That's usually what most folks buy with their very first bait caster. And it's a great rod. It really is. I have this one rod that it's an arc rod. You've used it actually. I was throwing the jigs on it. Yeah, that arc 7-foot medium heavy fast. It's called the kitchen sink, and you can do a ton on it.
Exactly.
I wish when I was looking at that rod, I had bought a 7.3 or maybe even a 7.6 just for that extra little bit. And I may add a longer medium heavy into the mix in there. I've got also this 7-foot.
You'll love it.
This 7.2.
You'll find yourself grabbing that rod, and I guarantee you'll find yourself picking that rod up off the deck more than you're picking up your 7-foot or your 7.3.
Yeah.
Just because it literally is the better multi-purpose rod.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That extra length.
Do with it because the action is so strange on it compared to the 7-footer. It's so different that it allows you to do so many techniques well.
Gotcha.
That's the thing. It's like it's so forgiving at that point.
And that's the whole thing. If you're going to streamline it and minimize that much, like that's a big deal. That extra.
Because I know, like I can pick up pretty much anything. I can pick up your jig. I can flip that around. I can catch big fish on that. I could drag a worm on it. I could throw a lightweight shaky head on it as long as I got a good enough casting reel, right?
Yeah.
throw a square bill. I can pick up a trap, rip it out of grass. I can pick up a chatterbait, pull it out of grass, swim bait, boom. So, I mean, it's like, to me, that is the true multi-purpose, because you can't use a 7-foot rod, medium heavy, to throw a chatterbait hardly at all.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't load right.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
Everybody wants a glass composite rod, right?
Yep.
But that 7.6 will load perfect. Load just like that the glass, except you can actually feel better too, because it's graphite, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So that's the whole thing.
You can tell what kind of grass you're taking. That's eelgrass.
Mm-hmm.
That's good hydrilla. That's bad hydrilla.
Yep.
You can't tell that with a glass rod.
Yeah. It's like a wet noodle, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge, like, Ben and I did a whole podcast about glass versus graphite.
Yep.
And I just completely dumped on it. I was like, I hate glass. Like, the only glass rod that I've ever picked up that I somewhat like was the one that Ben designed for Temple Fork. Temple Fork Outfitters. He's got a rod that he designed that is a composite. It's half graphite, half glass.
Oh, okay.
Sensitive and still got like a good action to it. It doesn't have it has a backbone instead of the damn noodle that bends all the way into your freaking hand.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it has good sensitivity. And I'm like, this is the one rod that's got glass in it that I can be like, okay.
Is that
a good rod.
Is that like a blend where it's graphite and glass like through the entire blank?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I was like, I wonder.
So it's basically a glass rod that's wrapped in graphite.
Oh, so, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
That makes sense. There's, I think I wanted to pick up, just for travel to have them on hand, a couple of telescopic travel rods. And I found a really good deal and really good reviews on Cast King Blackhawk telescopic
I've heard
rods.
Those are good too.
Yeah, they're not bad. And actually, so one of them that I have is a 7.3 medium heavy bait caster. The other one is a 610. I think it's a 610 medium light spinning combo.
Yeah.
And I've used these, I've caught decent fish on both of them. But what's crazy is that the top two sections are fiberglass.
Yeah.
It's so like the tip is just so whippy. I mean, it's great for casting light baits. That is really, really nice, actually.
Great for running like a drop shot or a Ned rig too, or something slow. Because it's like you can see again that deflection bite. It's something that's very important to learn.
Oh, for sure.
To constantly be looking at that and know exactly how much bend your bait puts on a rod under normal circumstances. So as soon as it tiny
crosses
bit
that threshold,
you're already reeling down. You know that, hey, I'm either on something or I'm on a fit.
That makes sense. Makes a ton of sense. Caleb, do me a favor, man. Go ahead, promote yourself a little bit. Let folks know if they want to take what could be the trip of a lifetime for some folks on Chickamauga. Where can they find you? Where can they learn more? Where can they book a trip? And also, if you're partnering with any companies, either local or national or anything like that, go ahead and plug them as well.
All right. So BassQuestFishingCharters.com is all you got to type in. That'll bring you straight to the website. Follow me on social media, though. I'm Bass Quest Fishing Charters page on Facebook, Bass Quest Fishing Charters on Instagram, and my YouTube channel is Bass Quest. And I'm actually giving away a free guide trip for every 1,000 subscribers that I have. So
that's awesome.
We're over 7 right now. We're working on towards 8,000. So as soon as we get to 8,000, I'm going to do a random generated subscriber, and they're going to get a free guide trip.
That's awesome, guys. This is a big deal. You should definitely go and subscribe. Well worth it. So
that's pretty much it for the plug there. Now, companies that I work with, Hog Farmer Bait Company.
Yep.
Scott Schwacker has been just awesome for me and the family for years and years and years. Mad scientist in the room as far as making different baits and stuff like that. Really ledge fish oriented, cool stuff. And then Bass Attitude Fishing. Chris is the one that does all these cool hats and shirts that I run all the time.
Oh yeah,
the Graffin hat and stuff like that. So just a great guy, and he's actually he doesn't make any money off of this. Like he sponsors Cole Sands, who's an Elite Series angler. Like he's literally taking that money and donating it for like research and stocking fish back in Chickamauga Lake and some of the other local areas. Like he's planning on into a complete nonprofit, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And Chris is the coolest guy ever. Other companies, I would say local companies, Talk and Tackle. You've been awesome dudes. They have a guide service out of there also.
Yep.
Phenomenal tackle shop. Great to go in there. And then Fishtails in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
There's stuff literally you can walk into either one of those or Real Deal Tackle in Dayton, and you will have access to things that you will not physically touch within 500 miles.
Oh, yeah.
That's the crazy thing. It's like the amount of high end, the amount of JDM gear,
the JDM stuff.
You will drool over some of the stuff in there.
Yeah. Those, I still got to get my hands on those little chatterbaits. They were sold out. They were sold out at Talk and Tackle when I was down there. I got to order some of those. Oh, yeah.
Look at Samurai Tackle stuff.
Samurai? Okay. I'll check it out. Yeah, that is the shit. Caleb, this was awesome, man. I'm looking forward to fishing with you again. We had a blast last time, and we're gonna have a blast next time too.
Yep. Just let me know when you want to come down.
You got it. You got it, man. Thank you very much, dude. We will talk soon.
All right, brother.
All right, take care, buddy. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right, bye-bye. And there we are, just like that. It was so good to have Caleb on the show. Great talking to him again. Looking forward to getting back down to Tennessee and doing some more fishing. I would really actually be into one of those live bait trips he's talking about, just for the experience and checking it all out. And especially like the way he was talking about utilizing live scope. It's really like interesting. That's such a good interview. The guy is a wealth of knowledge. He truly is. We have a little something we got to bring up before we dive into this. We missed the boat on something last week that I guess like we started talking about it early in the week. And sometimes, let's pull back the beef curtain here a little bit and let you guys in on a little bit of the production. But occasionally on the show, we'll have conversations either in the form of a text message or a DM or something. Something will come up and we're like, oh my God, we got to put this in the show, blah, blah, blah. But maybe it's Tuesday or Wednesday. And then by the time Sunday comes around, we're just like,
what was that? We had something to do with fishing.
And that's
we're hippies. We forget about shit.
We do. It happens, but somehow I managed to write this down. And even though we didn't talk about it all last week, there are 3 different terms that came up in conversation that Sean and I had a discussion over. And Sean, how do you think I should go? Should I just lay them all out for everybody and then we can explain?
What we should start with, what we were going to title last week's episode, because that's kind of where it was supposed to start.
It was, last week's episode was supposed to be titled, and we didn't even talk about any of this stuff, so it didn't make sense to title it. The working title was Episode 163, Cambodian Midget Fighting League, Tzatziki Sauce, and the Wizard's Cooch.
We deprived you folks of this episode, and we're going to cram it into segment 3 right now.
We're true pieces of shit.
Where
tzatziki sauce?
Where did it start? Did it start with the tzatziki sauce?
It started
chronologically. It started.
I feel like it started with the Cambodian Midget Fighting League. I think where it started.
That was after. No, I think it started with the tzatziki sauce. You think it
started with the tzatziki sauce? Okay.
Yes, I think that was early in the week.
Yeah.
And I think it started with the tzatziki sauce. So we all know. Oh, now I know what tzatziki sauce is. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And we had some. I ate it with my tuna things, my tuna, whatever the fuck they were at the restaurant last week.
Oh, yeah.
And that led to a big in-depth discussion while we were eating about tzatziki sauce. And of course, because we're discussing a lot of references of what tzatziki sauce wasn't, but looked like.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Chrissy Fishing fucking understands us.
Yeah.
Yep. I might be right now. Might be.
And I think from there, even it was that day where we'll get to I was on a road and I immediately called you and sent you pictures.
Yes, it was that day.
Because what happened with that day
you and I had fished earlier that day.
Yes.
We had lunch.
Yes.
And then you had your typical afternoon errands to run.
Yes, with picking up my kids from school, bringing them to the dentist. It was a dentist day, I think.
And I don't know if the world is ready for your son's photographic abilities.
Yeah.
But my God, I don't mean like he has a future in like wedding photography or portrait photography. I think this young man has a future in news gathering.
Yeah. What happened that fateful drive, was that we were on a busy road in Western Massachusetts, and a flatbed pickup truck was driving in the lane next to us. And I looked over and I saw, well, what Bobby, what you and I have really painted a picture of for all of our listeners for years.
Yeah.
I saw the Jigs and Bigs van. It was on this flatbed. It was on the top. It was blue. It was dilapidated. It was from the 70s. It even had an Ohio license plate.
Yes, it did.
It had airbrushing all over it. Poor airbrushing, I should make note. Very, very poor. Yep. One of which.
There it is.
Bobby, do you have the side of the poorly airbrushed girl on the side of this van?
Oh,
see,
I think I might actually.
If you're not a patron, you're not seeing this shit. Yeah, you do. There it is. There was a face painted on the side with some evil markings. And when I showed this to somebody, they said, well, that was the victim of the van. Yeah. And there's just some weird shit going on in this van. It's beat up. It's got the circular fishbowl windows on the back. And
Those are the best.
And then on the back, this is what did it. This is what made it the Jigs and Bigs van. The back of the van, poorly airbrushed, is its name. The Wizard's Cooch. COOTCH, which caused me to look at this van at least 3 times until I said to my son, I need pictures of this thing. I will slow down and get pictures of every angle of this thing. And I did.
Oh,
we coordinated it really well.
He did. He nailed it.
The Wizard's Cooch exists. It's a thing. It's much better than what anything Bobby and I could ever come. We said white van. No, it was not a white van. This is a blue with poorly painted orange racing stripe van.
Like mismatched, poorly painted.
Horrible.
So
Horrible.
bad. It's so bad. And of course, like,
it's from Ohio. It's Ohio. That's as Ohio as Ohio can get. You know,
I love how this person went out of their way to get the historical or antique plates on it.
That's the best part. Like, they really went the distance to go that far. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. What's the sticker say on the left window there?
On the left window, like, let me see if I can
fried
zoom.
or
Mama tried.
Mama tried.
Mama tried.
Which is a Grateful Dead song.
Mama failed.
There's so much Mama really did fail. What's this up here? Ohio Street Vans.
So
I think that might be the dealership, maybe?
We'd like to thank Ohio Street Vans for the content. And here's the shout out from Jigs and Bigs.
Wizard's Cooch.
I'm searching that right now.
We don't know how the Wizard's Cooch ended up in Massachusetts from Ohio, but
it did, and we're thankful.
Everything is content.
So
if one of our listeners bought this van, reach out to me, American Vet Fishing, and I might send you an offer.
I'm telling you, like, everybody wants to get in on the truck camping game. They want to get in on the van skulking game. You know what I'm saying?
What's comfier and warmer for a long night's sleep than the Wizard's Cooch? It's a little smelly in there.
That shag carpet might actually cut you, so don't crawl around too much on it. You know what I'm saying? Thank you. I'll be here all night.
Yep. We had some fun with that. And then things took a dark turn after the Wizard's Cooch. The Wizard's Cooch was just complete chance. I had my youngest in the car, and he had a couple of his buddies. I was bringing them, I believe, to a baseball game for their school. They were going to watch their buddies.
Yep.
And my son is laughing at this one news article, and he shouldn't be. It's really inhumane for a number of reasons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the title of it and then him getting into it was just so ridiculous that people even behave this way in 2023. I sent you the article, Bobby, right?
I think you might have. I don't know if you did.
I think I can paraphrase it.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
But it was in Cambodia. They apparently have a little people fighting league there, which for those of us in America, a somewhat civilized country, you would think that would be akin to an MMA event, one-on-one. Everybody's got a shot. No, this harkened back to the days of Rome.
Yeah.
44 Cambodian little people were put in a ring to fight a lion. 28 did not make it out. And another like 4 or 5 were like really injured, like badly. And the fight was put to a stop after 28 deaths. So this happened. When you read the title, you might get a laugh because you say,
the way
how
it's
the
worded.
fuck can this happen?
Yeah.
The way it's worded. No, these people are really doing this.
Wow.
So
I didn't realize any of that about the lion. Oh my God.
yeah, they put him in with a fucking lion. So this was just, I hope to God they had weapons or something to like defend themselves, but even still 28 of the people died. Like this happened in 2023 in our world.
That's insane.
This wasn't a war
No.
where there was an atrocity. I'm not excusing that either. All right. But I think we're all fucking numb to that at this point. These people put for entertainment, 28 people died.
Wow.
So that's fucked up.
Yeah, that is fucked up.
Just so you guys know, so I do have some sort of credibility as a fucking decent human being, as a father. I did have a talk with my son and his friends about people do not regard human life the same way we do in this country. And hell, even some days I worry about that.
In this country, yeah, exactly.
We're not doing that with a fucking lion and 28 people, hopefully armed. I don't know. But yeah, you read the title, you might have a laugh. Then you read a little deeper in and realize this is real and it's fucked up. And yeah. So there you go. That was supposed to be our working title for last week.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I think we forgot. We could have just titled it The Wizard's Cooch. I mean, that would have been fine.
That would have been more than enough. You know, maybe sprinkle some tzatziki sauce in there just to keep things a little bit more crisp and cool. But there was another, I have to say this much too. Like I was amazed getting back to the tzatziki sauce. Sean shared something with me that I never knew about Sean. Sean had only had like ranch dressing post 2000, right?
Yeah. I just never had ranch, your taste buds change. I never liked ranch dressing. And then just one day I think I was on a deployment and I had ranch dressing. I didn't have like my normal things I liked. So I was like, all right, I'll try ranch. And I'm like, this is all right.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, holy fuck. Like as Americans, I know the rest of the world thinks that like we just drink the shit. And there are those people.
It's in the Midwest. Like once you get past like Syracuse and into Buffalo, then the ranch fuckery starts.
I had a roommate. She was from Texas. She was from Texas, and she lived and died by the Hidden Valley.
Yeah.
It was nuts. I'm like, whoa. And I think this kind of, we bring it up because there is there's a YouTube channel that my wife and I like to watch. It's a Southern YouTube channel where they kind of talk about all these Southernisms and stuff. And I love this shit about our country. The fact that there are pockets in different, I mean, you see this in other countries sometimes as well, like different regionalisms, but because we're so large, they swing so much. You know what I mean? And I love those regional, like in New England, we have our own, and I lean heavy into them. I like that. I think it's fun, you know? And I love like the little Midwest colloquialisms that are out there and all the little, the changes in accent and everything. I think it's great. But when it comes to like ranch dressing, there was this one channel that this guy had ranked a bunch of them, and Hidden Valley came in like dead in the middle. Like if he ranked 5, it was number 3. And the number 1, and God, I wanted to throw myself in traffic when I saw this. The number 1 that he put was Olive Garden's Parmesan Ranch. And as a self-respecting Italian American, nothing enrages me more than anything Olive Garden. Terrible.
I bet you if you asked my parents' neighbor what he thought about that choice, he would say, you know what? Fuck him.
I'm sure he would. And he can go and have all the free salad and breadsticks he wants. I take that salad and I
toss it.
I got no use for it. Oh. Biggest nickus. Jesus, I didn't know it existed until I moved here. Just like white gravy. I don't know. And cold white gravy.
I am a little thankful that all our jig heads have gone from comments about the van, skipping the Little People Fighting League, and right on a ranch. So we'd like to thank you guys.
You guys keep it classy. I love it.
That was a little shell shock there. Apparently, like, what the fuck are they talking about? Oh,
Yeah.
ranch.
Oh, I fucking love it.
There's so much
ranch.
stuff going on in the comments.
It really
right
is.
now.
It's kind of nuts. I love you guys. You're the fucking greatest. One thing I want to talk about is this. So I don't want to throw this guy's name out there, but I could. He is one of the big names in tournament bass fishing. And recently they celebrated a milestone with his podcast. 10 years. I think 10 years. Yeah, 10 years. And they on this show were, kind of going through a series of guests, and they were like kind of walking back through the years, like sharing memories about, recording the show and like things that they have done and everything. And obviously, like, when you're a big name in the tournament world or something like that, you do something like this, you're getting all these guests, like things happen differently for you. But they said something that really pissed me off and let me know that this one very jubilant, excitable angler, let me know he does not listen to Jigs and Bigs, because he said in this show, we're one of the best sounding podcasts out there. Not Jigs and Bigs. Their show is one of the best sounding shows out there that you could listen to. And then I heard him put a guest on that straight up sounded like they were talking through a speaker at the end of a paper cone into the microphone he was also talking into. Son of a bitch. These people that are in this podcast game don't give a rat's ass about production quality. I listen to our show and it sounds fucking amazing, but take us out of the equivalent. I listen to other fishing podcasts that sound pretty goddamn good, and it kind of burned my ass a little bit when I heard him say that. I was like, okay, clearly you were saying something without knowing what the current podcast selection is that's out there. Now, granted, like, we do a lot of Zoom guests and stuff like that, so that's fine. I understand that shit happens, but like the overall audio, the levels of the music, the sound effects, if there were any, just kind of hot garbage.
You know what this is a fishing equivalent of?
What's that?
This spinning reel works great.
Exactly. Oh, that's good.
What I just did there was turn my imaginary spinning reel upside down and reel it backwards, because that's what it sounds like. That's just my observation.
Oh my God, he nailed it, biggest nickus. It's exactly who he was. Okay, good. I'm glad I put a little bit out there. I like the dude. I genuinely do. I like watching his stuff on YouTube, but I don't think he has a good grasp on what's out there for quality audio in the fishing community, that for audio-based platforms, especially since I'm relatively sure that podcast is a YouTube channel that's dumped to podcast servers. I think that's or a YouTube live stream that's dumped, which is lazy podcasting,
Are we going to expect a review of this hot new up and coming band on this show called Nickelback?
Funny you say that, actually, because
oh my God, no.
Next week's music round at trivia may very well be Nickelback.
Oh, geez. Good.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I'm in New York.
You're
so
in New York, yeah.
It.
I don't know. I had take a guess. There's one player that suggested I do it. I'm thinking about just making it like Chad music, and I'll have to explain what a Chad is. I only recently found out this year, but then again,
I'm a boomer. No, I'm not a boomer. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm old. I got a beard like Santa Claus.
I just learned what a Chad was this year. I was, okay. I was right all along, but just wanted to be sure. And I'm thinking about kind of expanding it a little bit, including some bands. This is gonna hurt some people When I did the new metal round, that went over really well. But take a guess who it was that suggested the Nickelback round. You know them.
Oh, God. It wasn't the Hendos, was it?
It was one of them.
Oh, Jesus
who might be
Christ.
running for office in your town.
Why do you listen to them? Why?
Well, I kind of had been wanting to do the Chad thing anyway, but he was like, oh, yeah, do Nickelback. I'm like, oh, I could do Nickelback.
Bobby, got a couple great ideas. Let's do a Nickelback music round. Okay, I'm listening. What else? Maybe for a challenge, whoever gets the answer right gets to get up and get kicked in the balls by every other contestant in a row, just in a line, while listening to Nickelback.
I'm in.
What do we say? What do we say to that, Bobby? What does Jigs and Bigs say to that?
Fair.
Look at this photograph. Every time I do it, makes a bitch laugh.
All right, I gotta stop. Speaking of trivia, go ahead.
You know what? Hold on. Look at we got to be honest. All right, we got to be honest. We know I'm a comic nerd. My one dark secret of my life is I like that stupid Nickelback song that went with the Spider-Man soundtrack.
Oh, that's, hey, somebody's buying those records.
And I sit there and I listen to it and I go, why do I like this?
I know,
it's actually
man.
well produced.
Yeah.
And that one song is well written. It's just fucking Nickelback. And here's another dark, shameful secret. And this is unknowing. I was doing a solid for my wife, then girlfriend at the time. She said, I want to go see this band Nickelback. I'd never heard of them. And this was like 2002. Like, okay, who the fuck's Nickelback? They were 3 or 4 hits out. We went and saw Nickelback. But to my credit, it was in a festival with Jerry Cantrell playing, which was awesome because he was playing all Alice in Chains songs. And Kitty was playing. Kitty did not have one of their guitarists. So who was sitting in? The only time I've ever seen him, Wayne Static was sitting in with Kitty.
Really?
It was sucking. That was good. And then also, so this lineup of this show was out on a racetrack in Nebraska or Iowa. Mm-hmm. So those 2 bands I just mentioned, Nickelback, whoever they were touring with, and then Tommy Lee's, what was it, Methods of Mayhem or whatever the hell it was?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. It's
45 minutes
bad.
You're never going to get back.
Oh, it wasn't. Yeah, counting the setup and teardown. I think he had 25 minutes on the stage. He was on early. He was completely disrespected.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he was.
What? Surprise home band that stole the night? Who was it? 311 is from Omaha, I believe.
311's from Omaha? Really?
I believe it. Hold on. I believe it's fucking 311.
No shit. I've seen them begrudgingly. I saw them. I went to go see them because Deftones were the opening act. And I gotta be perfectly honest, man. I was not into them initially. They put on a good show. Those dudes play their asses off, and it's actually a pretty decent show.
It was 311. It was a home show for them, and the place kind of blew up. It was interesting to see. I'm like, all right, fucking, this is cool. Whatever. But yeah, the Jerry Cantrell set stole the night.
I'm sure.
I changed it.
I saw Nickelback early on their first tour for their album. And it was the dude that worked at the station that was like, yeah, there's this concert. It's cheap. We should all go. And I was like, cool, we'll go. And it was like, I think what it was $9.95. And if you paid with a 10, they'd give you a nickel back. You see, it's real clever marketing right there. So we went, and I was like, okay, this is cheesy, but whatever. It's okay. And then they just blew up, and I was like, I don't know, man. They're just not bringing anything to the table. It's just dumb.
Well produced, just
very well produced. But that's all
so sterile.
Yeah.
Except for the Spider-Man song.
Yeah, the Spider-Man song. God. I wanted to, Jay Manning chimes in. He says that LiveScope doesn't approve.
You're goddamn right, Jay. I don't approve at all.
What does LiveScope think about Nickelback, Bobby?
LiveScope superior, Nickelback inferior.
And just so you guys know, if anybody knows where that's from, go ahead and say it. And I may or may not have a couple of stickers or jig kit or something I can send you, because that's some fucking shit right there.
It is some shit.
You guys got to know where that's from. I need a fucking reference. There you go.
I love it. There's shit going on in the background right now in the host chat that could be fucking amazing. Could be amazing. And I think it'll tie in really well, potentially with the raffles for the giveaways at the conclusion of Chronic Trips when we have those results. I think there could be something really fun happening here.
Joe just did a good thing. He's starting to contribute. We're rubbing off on him. And
finally.
And we're giving him ideas. He's getting ideas from hanging out with us. You need a towel, buddy? A couple?
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. So what else do we have here? I think, I got to go through some trivia stuff real quick. This week, we had a freaking blast. I did a music round of songs that, quote, slapped at the last wedding that I had done. And I like doing those a lot because they're totally random. And at the same time, there's a little bit of like banter with each one. Like I can talk about this one was played for such and such. And it was so good. Chrissy Fishing. That's good.
Hold on. Chrissy, we need a little more. Who said it and what was the situation? That's what I need. And then we'll talk jig kit and I'll bring it with me to Cayuga if you're going to be up there.
Sweet.
Who said it? What was the situation?
We did Monday night was awesome. We had a great turnout Monday night, whole lot of fun. Tuesday night was really great, but it was pretty chill most of the week. I did 5 nights this week. It was good to be back in Casa de Lisa on Friday. Wednesday and Thursday were both absolutely awesome. But
Thursday, Bobby, Thursday. We got to talk about Thursday.
Thursday was, I think, for me, it was kind of the highlight because I roll into trivia and the parking area where I am at Platform, you have to walk along like the Northampton Rail Trail. You have to walk along the bike trail in order to get to the entrance of Platform. So I have this big, like, they call it a rock and roller cart. It's a folding cart. I put my gear on that I need and I go over, and it's usually a pretty busy night over there. So I've got to bring the full rig. So I'm pushing along and everything, and I get to the door, and, it's not rare. Sometimes there's somebody at the door, like having a smoke or something. They'll open the door for me, and who opens the door from the inside but the one and only Chris from eBay Lures, wearing a very, very bright fish and mushroom patterned psychedelic shirt. I was blown away. I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing here? They're hours away from us. It didn't make any sense. Now, I know that they were on the road for something and happened to be nearby. So they're just like, you know what? We're going to get a room nearby and we're going to go to Bobby's Trivia and see what happens. You got to play with them, Sean, because they reached out when they decided that this was going on later that day, and you came up for all the festivities. This is your first time playing at Platform, witnessing some of the teams that you've heard me talk about. There was one team that night specifically, and I think I even kind of riffed on it a little bit. They were called Just Resuscitated. You remember that? Now, Just Resuscitated has, for like months, been playing, and even longer than that, actually. They've been around for a while, and they would call themselves Just Something. And I started to notice it was like Just Divorced, Just this. And then I did the last adult one that I had, and they called themselves
Just Railed. Just Railed.
And I was like, this is amazing. And then the Just Resuscitated thing, and I made a joke about choking and stuff and all that jazz, and that went over really good. But, I mean, there are some teams in there that they don't play anywhere else. They only play in Northampton. So Trojan Whores, who are a amazing team, like a big group of people, they play, and they're always in like at least the top 5, it seems. And I think they've been on a tear for a while with wins where they've had like 4 or 5 in a row. Like it's pretty crazy. They are a good team. Sometimes they have their rough nights. Same thing with Patty Pastrami. I don't think they were there this Friday night or this Thursday night, though. I don't think that they were there. But then you got to see the horny leprechauns. They're in full Technicolor. Yeah, they are horny and they are leprechauns. Didn't want to confirm that, but I can. The advertising is spot on. It is spot on. And it was a great time. I love my Thursday nights. in NoHo. It's awesome. They got the tent outside, so we're going to be moving the show outside in the next couple of weeks. Probably, I don't know if it's going to be this week, but probably by the following week. I wouldn't be surprised if we're outside. So it should be good. Order your Bobby Roast Beef hoodies to stay comfortable in those chilly late spring evenings. Go ahead and order those at bobbyroastbeef.com or jigsandbigs.com. You can get them there as well. Here we go. A Baylors, we can contribute to the loss to one too many Cape Cod. Sorry, Sean.
They saw that I played a win.
They did, yeah.
I think it freaked out Chris and Christina. So the game was over. We had no hope, and it's all right. We lost.
I got to tell you, I was blown away when they handed me a bag of goodies, all kinds of stuff, some more A-Bay stickers, and some Thousand Island Tackle Store swag. They heard that my daughter had wanted a Thousand Island Tackle Store sticker for her car, and I said, absolutely, you can have one, sure. And they gave me a couple of those to throw over to her, so I was like, she was delighted. All kinds of good stuff in there. Some fresh homemade baked goods, which I'm going to be bringing up to Maine with me to enjoy. I think that's going to be a whole lot of fun. So I'm saving them for then. But they went to the I think it's called the Thousand Island Cheese Shop, and there were some cheese curds that were in this bag. Now, Sean, you got a bag of these as well. Do they still exist? Are they around, or did you slam them?
They will not exist after this week. They are coming up.
They're going with you
to New York with them.
Very good. Very good. You're going to love them. Mine did not make it. I shared some with Holly. They were a little too spicy for her. These were a red pepper variety. Oh my God. They were so good. They made it through 2 settings. Like, unbelievable.
I've got garlic flavor. So I think out camping is probably the best course of action.
Oh yeah.
Because of the dragon breath that will occur.
And it's keeping clear of any skeeters. So that was absolutely a delight to see them. And it was great because I was like, and I even said to the staff afterwards when I was, packing up my gear and stuff, and I was getting prizes for the winners, I was just like, it's this shit that makes me like so amazed when like the worlds collide, from jigs and bigs and fishing into like like my job, trivia and game shows and all that. It's absolutely awesome. So I was delighted. Great to see them. And I hope they had a good time. I hope they enjoyed the show. I think they did. I have a feeling they did. It was one of those really, really good nights.
You're leaving out about Western Mass rolling out the red carpet for these folks. What was going on in the conference room next door during your trivia?
All right. So the funny thing about being indoors at Platform is there's like a conference room is actually a really good description of what that space is. It's a small event space. It's got like a couple of screens for projectors and stuff. They use it for like when there's like a big game or something, they'll put a game on in there.
They were playing some games in there.
Oh, they were playing some games, but there is a group that gathers there one Thursday every single month. And they're like I think like a fetish or like adults, like social club. I don't really know how else to describe it. Nothing like is weird. Like I'm not hearing like, fucking monkey sounds or some shit coming from behind that door. It's all good. And people are in and out to get drinks and whatnot and the entire night. But like, I think this is like a planning meeting of like other nefarious sexual activity happening.
Bobby, if I knew you were hosting trivia next door, I would have came over and said hi.
You should have. You should have. It's your loss.
I know one thing you didn't hear, Bobby.
What's that? Oh God.
I know what didn't you hear?
Oh, I can tell you this much. These poor people in this room hate me because I'm right up against their door. I got a speaker right there. I have a room full of people. And like, Sean, that was a pretty packed space. That was about half of a really good night, like a really big night there. Like it gets so unbelievably loud. And these poor people are just trying to like schedule 3-ways and stuff. And I don't want to get in the way of that.
Yeah, there was some shit going on. We didn't see any furries, but I'm sure you have at some point.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're working on that.
Yeah.
There was some shit. We saw some shit walking through the bar to get to that meeting room.
And I'm not judging. I'm like, hey man, you know what? If anything, I'm a little bit jealous that they're so organized.
Dude, America. This is America. You want to do that shit? Do it. Proud.
America 3-way.
You know what I'm saying? Fuck.
Yeah, I think the 3-way was probably on the lighter side of items being discussed at that meeting, but
so I got to go ahead and throw this out there for you guys that made it this far listening. If you want to get your bonus at trivia, the code word this week is 3-way. The code word is 3-way.
We should. I don't know if you got any more trivia stuff to cover, Bobby.
That's it. Just that I won't be in. I won't be at in Agawam on Fridays for the next 2 weeks. Next week, of course, is Cinco de Mayo, and I'm going to be up in Maine with Delirious Angler, fishing Moosehead, and then on the 14th, I will be, or not the 14th, on the 12th, I'll be leaving for Vegas, and I'm going to die there.
Excellent.
Party on.
Well, just got a little follow up here.
Yeah, we did.
Chrissy came through for us, right?
Oh, she did.
He said Soundwave superior, Constructicons inferior. That's all I know. I'll take 2 out of 3. So it was from the Transformers, and Soundwave said it was during the 1986 movie. There you go, Chrissy. I'm a nerd. So I'll bring a jig kit up for her. There you go. You've earned it, Chrissy. Congratulations. For all the
excellent job, Chrissy.
For all the kayak trials and tribulations, and for the heat stroke. And you know what? All that shit's great, but you earned it by knowing some nerd shit.
Fucking A, she did. Hell yeah, right. She did. That's impressive. I think that about does it, guys, for this show. This was jam-packed. I hope you guys had a good one. The tournament is starting on the 1st. If you're listening to the show, you're a day behind. And if you want to get in on the multi-species scavenger hunt action, you have time to do it. You have 7 days from when it kicks off to go ahead and download Fishing Chaos, search Jigs and Bigs, and you're going to find it. That's what you got to do. Just do that. Sign up. And then, you got to use the appropriate catch board and everything, and we've got information listed in the rules on how you can acquire your catch board, guys. It's going to be good. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to fishing with all of you guys, and I will be reaching out and posting any decent catches that I managed to get on social media, and I'm excited about that, guys. You guys have anything that you want to add in last?
Joe?
Nope.
I do.
Yeah.
Anybody who's involved in Jigs and Bigs, anybody who's involved in any tournament ever from now until the day you no longer draw breath on this earth, help your directors out. Help your judges out. Read the rules.
Help yourself out.
Follow the rules.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Read and follow those rules, guys. We opened the show on a funny little clip from a little parody song, and we're just going to listen to the whole damn thing on the way out, guys. Thanks again for listening. We appreciate you so much. Our listeners are the greatest, and this show is just growing and growing and growing, and I couldn't be more excited. So we got lots more great stuff coming from Jigs and Bigs. You're not going to want to miss it. Until we see you next time, like we always say,
tits and ass, smoke some grass.
So there I am down at the marina when she walks up and says, "Skipper, how come you never take me for a ride on your skiff?" I said, "Baby, climb aboard." So she's looking all around and she says, "What is that?" I said, "What's what?" She says, "That." I said, "Well, that's my Johnson." She says, "But it's so big." I said, "Yeah, it's a big old Johnson. I got a big old Johnson. I got a great big Johnson. I got a long shaft Johnson. I got a big old Johnson. I got a big old Johnson. Don't need no effing room." So she says, "How do we get this thing started?" I said, "Well, first you got to prime it." She says, "How do I do that?" I said, "Well, you reach down there and grab that ball and you give it a little squeeze." She said, "Like this?" Just like that. So there she was, squeezing on my Johnson, squeezing on my Johnson. She was squeezing on my Johnson, yeah, squeezing on my Johnson. She was squeezing on my Johnson, don't need no effing room. said, now what do I do? I said, well, you got to set the choke. She says, I have to do that? I said, absolutely. So there she was, choking on my Johnson, choking on my Johnson. She was choking on my Johnson, oh, choking on my Johnson. She was choking on my Johnson, don't need no heaven room. She said, now what? I said, well, you got to reach over there, get a good firm grip, and give it a pull. She said, like this? I said, yeah, just like that. So there she was, pulling on my Johnson, pulling on my Johnson. She was tugging on my Johnson, yeah, pulling on my Johnson. She was pulling on my Johnson, don't need no Evan room. She said, Skipper, I'm really impressed with your power head, but I think something's wrong with your lower unit, because I don't feel anything. I said, baby, there's nothing wrong with my lower unit. The reason why you don't feel anything is because you didn't set the trim on it. She said, I got to do that? I said, you betcha. So there she was. She set the trim on my Johnson. Set the trim on my Johnson. She set the trim on my Johnson. Set the trim on my Johnson. She set the trim on my Johnson. Don't need no Evan room. And away we go. I got a big old Johnson. I got a great big Johnson. I got a long shaft Johnson. Got a big old Johnson. She was squeezing on my, choking on my, pulling on and trimming on my. She says, do we need some lubrication? No, baby, it's a 4-stroke. Don't forget to put the plug in.